Hello?
Yep, I hear you.
Okay, good.
Yep. We good? Okay, I'd like to call to order Lower Saucon Township's General Business and Developer Meeting. Today's date is Wednesday, June 19th, 2024, and the time is 6:33. With that, I'd like a roll call, please.
Ms. DeLeon.
Here.
Mr. Benonis.
Here, I have a question. This was identified as the General Business and Developer Meeting. Is this the council meeting?
I'm reading off the agenda that was printed by the township.
Well, are we having a council meeting or a General Business and Developer meeting?
We're having a council meeting.
Okay, then let's identify it as that. We're calling it to order.
Okay, I'll repeat, we're calling to order the Lower Saucon Township Council meeting as listed on the agenda as the General Business and Developer meeting at 6:34 now. So roll call
Ms. DeLeon.
here.
Mr. Benonis.
I'm here.
Mr. Carocci, not present. Ms. Cordero.
Here.
Ms. Ray.
Here.
Also in attendance is Township Solicitor Steve Kazuzian, Township Engineer Andrew Youssef, Administrative Assistant Stacy Werkheiser.
The engineer. The engineer. Yeah.
Andrew Youssef.
Right, okay. Okay, so let's stand for the Pledge of Allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, I'd like to announce that we did meet in executive session. An executive session was held by Zoom on Wednesday, June 12th, 2024. Interviews were held with applicants concerning the township manager position. Although all 5 members of township council were invited, only 3 participated. No official action was taken. The subject of the executive session was employment related and or appointment related.
I'd like to be recognized, please.
No, not yet. Executive session.
Well, you're talking about the executive session. I want to speak about
I
what
am
happened.
not finished with that agenda item. If you would just wait, like I asked, that would be great. Executive session was held at 6 p.m. today prior to the meeting. The areas that were discussed were employment related. No official action was taken. The next is 2 of the items are listed on the agenda. One item is the zoning administrative clerk stipend approval. The second item is the student resource officer. A third item discussed was related to the police contract. No official action was taken and it is not listed on the agenda. Okay, Jason, you may now speak.
Yeah, let's talk about that manager issue that you just talked about. You suggested that there was no participation by 2 members of council. Let's be clear. So when Keystone was hired to look into and identify a new manager for the township, Karen Saylor from Keystone reached out to talk to Carocci and me, and then presumably everybody else on council. We talked about how the process would go, and we were told that we'd be included in that process. We were not included in that process. Tom and I were not included at all in that process. It wasn't until about 2 weeks ago I found out from an applicant that there were interviews taking place. I was never notified about any of that. Upon learning that, I requested copies of the resumes of all applicants for that position. I subsequently learned that there were 10 applicants, 10 resumes, and I believe Victoria, or perhaps the three majority, Victoria, Priscilla, and Laura, had looked at these resumes, either individually or collectively, made the determination that 7 of the 10 would not be considered, reducing the pool down to 3, and then subsequently it was reduced down to 2. I made 3 separate requests for copies of those resumes so that any interviews that I would participate in could be fully informed. So instead of having the 3 of you hand select who you believe to be candidate 1A and candidate 1B, I wanted to see the credentials of all the candidates. And I think that's in the interest of the township for those credentials to be available to every member of council so that we can select the right person to serve as the township manager to make sure they have the right credentials. And instead, what you choose to do is to selectively edit and reduce the amount of information that was available to the members of council. And I asked 3 separate times for all those resumes, and I was met with nothing but silence and ignorance. So to say that I did not participate in the interviews is a lie. It's a lie by omission, because you omitted the fact that you did not provide information that I requested to have a meaningful participation in that. I have no information about the 2 candidates, and I think it's wrong for you 3 to monopolize and to control that process. It's wrong for the township. I think the township taxpayers deserve better than that. They deserve to know how their money is going to be spent on the township manager to make sure they have the best person that can operate this township. But instead, the 3 of you chose to cull the list, selectively edit who's going to be considered, and force upon the majority of council only 2 candidates when 8 people applied. In addition to that, you also have potentially subjected the township to labor law violations, because I have no idea what the qualifications are of those other individuals. If those other individuals are more qualified than candidate 1A and 1B that the 3 of you selected, then I think that those other candidates would have an actionable claim against the township for employment discrimination, and I hope that it doesn't lead to that. So I would ask yet again, here on the record during a council meeting, in follow-up to my 3 prior requests, for copies of all of the resumes of all the individuals who applied for this position, as I have a right to get. If you don't provide them to me, I can assure you another right to know request, and we submit it, requesting all of that, and we'll see where that goes. Certainly, if we find out that the 7 people that the 3 of you chose to exclude are more qualified than the 2 that you're bringing forward, then I think there are going to be ramifications for the township and for you that are avoidable, but you're going to own them.
Okay, are you finished? Okay, I recall, and I don't have the date, that we had it on the agenda to select Keystone, what's their firm's name? Keystone Consulting, to do the manager search. And Chad, sorry, Sailor was the person that was assigned to our case. And they're the ones that prepared the advertisement. They sent the advertisement out to various places that were places to look for managers. They did all that stuff. As the resumes came into them, they collected them, and they vetted every one of them and came up with a selection of 3 people who rose to the top of the 10, and presented that list. Now, that night that we approved this, you may not recall, but I moved to create a committee with myself and Victoria on it, which were 2 people. The 2 people does not violate any laws that I'm aware of as far as quorums of council. And Victoria and I took the lead, and we, were active in this process. And when we received and stop me if I'm not saying this correctly, Victoria, we reviewed the 3 candidates and decided that with Steve that we would interview them. And after we interviewed the 3 candidates. We came up with selection of 2, and those 2 applicants were interviewed on June 12th of 2024.
Yeah, I just answer that,
If
if I can be recognized,
to not
I would
share
like to
information
add
with
to
us. Is that what you're telling the
that.
public? Because when the right to those come out and we find the information that you told him to not communicate with us,
Priscilla,
that's not going to look good for you.
It's hard when 2 people start speaking at the same time to decide who's going to speak and who isn't. So he's finished now. Do you want to go ahead?
Yes,
So you're not going to answer that question. Thank you for ignoring that question.
I think that it's
There you go, public. You can see
appropriate
what's
to
happening.
indicate that we, the 3 candidates that were presented to the committee that was reviewing the manager position were the recommendation of the consultant. There was no hand-picking or selectively excluding people. In fact, the process that we were going through is a process that is customary and in keeping with how many townships handle the hiring of a position. And in fact, when there was the hiring of Mr. Hudson, which occurred before my time, there was no public meetings where the candidates were provided to the public and that information. In fact, many of you can appreciate that if you're applying, that kind of information is not something that you want to have at a public meeting all the time. So that's exactly why we have a process where there is a committee and a consultant advising. So there were 3 candidates selected by the consultant as the top 3. That was then put forward in an interview process with the committee. And then from that point forward, there was the top 2 of that 3-person interview that was then offered to the entirety of council. To insinuate that there was not appropriate information provided to the members of council is misleading and inappropriate from my perspective. On Friday, before that meeting, council received an email including the resumes of the 2 candidates to be interviewed. The email was sent to all members of council indicating the times and the Zoom choice of interview. I didn't see any email back asking for a different date or a time. I didn't see an email back indicating there was a conflict with either of any of the council members that they could not attend the meeting. So the meeting went forward as indicated to council, with the resumes being provided to all members of council ahead of time at the same time. So to insinuate that there wasn't appropriate information provided to vet the 2 candidates that were being considered on the 12th is misleading. So that's where we are in the process.
Victoria is speaking, Jason. That's where we are. Jason, you cannot interrupt. Jason, you cannot interrupt.
Nobody has any information about any
Jason, you're not being recognized.
I'm not
You're being
suggesting that
rude.
that information will be discussed at a public meeting.
You're not being recognized.
You review in private, carefully interviews with make sure we have the best candidate.
You weren't recognized. Victoria, could you please continue?
I'm careful what you recognize. You're going to hear from me.
I
You
just
keep
wanted
banging that
to
gavel all you want. It
finish
has
my
no effect on me.
I wanted to finish my statement, and I appreciate Mr. Benoist may have a response, and that's okay. But if we could just have one person go at a time and let one person finish before the other person come forward with their rebuttal or whatever their additional questions are, that would be appreciated.
Could you not select the public? I appreciate that. The public may appreciate that too.
I would like to finish, please. So what I'm trying to say is at this point in time, there was an offer and an inclusion of all members of council with the information of the candidates that were under for consideration. And when you lead a horse to water, you can't force them to drink. So I just would appreciate if all members of council give the respect to the candidates that we have and reach out to them and work with them and participate in the process.
Okay, thank you.
Speaking of farm animals, when you talk to a donkey and act like a jackass, it deserves to be treated the way it is.
Okay, so.
You're being dishonest here. You're truly being dishonest because you've never shared any of the resumes other than the 2 applicants that you hand selected. The township deserves to have the input of every council member on all of the applicants for this position. For you to call that list, and Priscilla has to answer that question. Did you tell Chad Taylor to not share that information with Tom Carocci and Jason Benoist? You don't answer that question, folks. Why is it? Because you know damn well what happened. The clown show continues, the moron majority reigns, and we're gonna get a fool for a township manager, and we're gonna suffer, the person's gonna leave, and we're gonna be in this process all over again, if we don't get sued in the meantime.
Okay, so moving on, I announced all of the executive sessions, Steve, is that correct?
You did.
Okay, so potential action, there's no potential action on any of the cases.
Not at this time. There are some that are
Not
on
at
the
this
agenda.
Can I get an answer as to whether or not I'm gonna get resumes? Am I gonna get all 10 of the resumes?
Okay, moving on, we have public
Going
comment.
once, going twice? Can anybody respond to that question? So silence means no.
5-minute public comment the residents have regarding agenda items, and at the end of the meeting, you will have 5 minutes for non-agenda items. The administrative code sets the procedure. I'm not going to go over that because we do
I
that.
think the public should be given the opportunity to talk about what we just talked about in executive session and beyond.
And so after each agenda item, you will be, entitled to speak if we've taken action. Moving on then,
Can
we
we
have,
speak or not? Is the public going to get a right to speak on this most important thing?
you can speak under non-agenda items later on in the meeting.
No,
This is not an
It's
agenda
3 or
item.
4 o'clock, and you do
Sure,
this
you talked
repeatedly.
about executive session, give the public the opportunity to comment on what you discussed during executive session.
I'm following the agenda.
I'm sorry, but you
No,
followed
you're
the
stifling the
agenda.
public comment.
That's the
Followed-
You're not getting up there, you're not being recognized. We'll turn the mic off. You're
Go
not being
ahead.
Mr.
recognized.
Deland, I'm
You
gonna
can
question
turn it
whether
off.
speak on this, I
You
don't
can
think
turn the
you
public
can't
off
stop
if you
it.
want.
You have to do
Mr.
Okay.
Medusian can
Well,
say
we're not
what he
listening to
wants,
you.
but you've already made several mistakes.
You're not being
You're not
recognized. You're
you're
gonna have
not
to have a
being
seat, sir.
recognized.
I'm sorry, you have made some very significant
And you can
movements
talk
here.
about them
and I'd
under
like to talk
non-agenda
about it.
items.
You can't do this, sir. You have to sit
You
down.
have
I
to sit down.
can't, I just did.
Officers, can we do something here?
We're gonna have to.
You can throw me out, throw the public
Your
out.
comments.
Don't let the public know. You've been
Sir, you're
charged
causing
and
disruption. Hold
asked.
on, you're causing a disruption, sir. Nobody wants to throw you out. We want to
Well,
provide you
good.
courtesy.
Well,
Have a
then you
seat.
could,
Sure you do.
Mr.
Sure
Kaduzian,
you want to take an action.
I would like to ask a question.
This is
Absolutely
not.
not. Have a seat,
You,
sir.
of all people,
No, not me of all people.
You criticize me for the way I run the agenda. This is not
I'm
allowed.
asking
You need
you
to
to
sit down.
follow your rules. You've made some statements.
You need to
The
sit
public
down.
has the right to ask questions.
Under
This
non-agenda
is,
item.
excuse me.
No,
You're
sir. Whoa,
over-talking me.
So
You're
this-
over-talking me.
Now-
You're
If
not.
I had a gavel, I'd
You
gavel
are
you.
You don't have a gavel,
Well,
sir.
the bottom line is,
You
I
are
do have
out
the right to
of
We're
speak.
gonna have to ask, no, you will
Would
not.
you please hear
We're
me?
going to have to ask you.
You've already made
Nobody wants to do
statements,
that.
made statements about
Disrupting the-
actions you have
disrupting the meeting.
taken, statements of
We're gonna
actions
take a break.
you've
We're
taken.
gonna ask the police to take. if they have
Okay,
to.
we're gonna, motion to recess the meeting.
Good.
I make that motion. Second, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
No,
Jason?
no.
Whatever, the record will reflect that. Okay, 5-minute recess.
We don't need to- oh, let's just do
Well,
a-
okay.
Just do a temporary recess.
Temporary recess.
Dictatorship.
People watching this stuff is better than watching this is like
We're in recess. And questions can be asked under non-agenda.
It's on the agenda.
Again.
It's on the
It's
agenda.
comments.
It's on the agenda.
And I'm sorry, but
I know you are.
non-agenda comments, not questions. I apologize. Okay, we're reconvening the meeting, and with that, I'd like to welcome Representative Milo McKenzie. And thank you so much for coming.
I apologize for the behavior of this council and the public. I guess
You should apologize for yourself, you're a fool.
Okay, remarks from the floor is not appreciated right now or allowed. You're being disrespectful.
Okay, my name is Malou McKenzie. I'm the state representative for the 131st District. And part of my district is made up of a few areas in Lower Saucon Township. Representative Robert Freeman shares Lower Saucon with me as well. And something came to light recently, and I just wanted to come here to clarify something about grants in the state that I think are very important to Lower Saucon. We have something called the LSA grants.
The L?
LSA. I had dropped off the grant book to Kathy Gorman a few days ago, but I think that people in the township have been aware of this because they've made applications for the grant in the past, and they've been awarded considerable amounts of money. But this year, when I got the list, it's kind of a long process because you make your application and it goes to a committee in Harrisburg. They review what has been requested, and if it's approved, it goes on a master list. And it comes out to us, state representatives and state senators, and I guess it's variable times because this year they were a little late with the list. But anyway, when I got the list this year, my heart sank because as a taxpayer here in Lower Saucon myself, I saw a missed opportunity because the amount of money that was sent to me to designate to my portion, I'm going to backtrack for a minute in case people don't know. This is money, the local shares money comes from the casinos. And there's Mount Airy up in Monroe County, and believe it or not, we're geographically located as a contiguous county or surrounding Monroe. So some of that money comes to us in Northampton County. And then of course we have Wind Creek, which is a major driver right here in our own backyard. So that's where the Lehigh and Northampton LSA money comes from. So anyway, I looked at the list this year and there was one request from Lower Saucon Township, and it was only for $99,000. Now it sounds like a lot, but the money that I had to hand out to my district was $308,000. So, oh boy, as a taxpayer in Lower Saucon, I thought, oh, this is not good, because I'm sure we have a lot of projects here that we would like to spend that money on. And I can only give that money to Northampton County. Even though I represent Lehigh County and part of Montgomery County, this money has to be spent in Northampton County. So I offered, and it's complicated because you know how the state doesn't do anything simply, but I offered to spend all of the money that I had to pay for Lower Saucon's request, the $99,000.
Hello, you have reached the Lower Saucon
Anyway,
Administration Office.
I was willing to give it all, but Representative Freeman and Senator Boscola, in a kind of an unusual thing since I've been elected, they said they wanted to contribute money to that project as well. So then it was split 3 ways, I guess. So anyway, I ended up giving Lower Saucon about $42,000 of my pot of $308,000. And then I had to give the money to other parts that were not in my district. I had to hand it out in Northampton County, and you must spend it this year. So I couldn't like say, oh, hold on, I want to use that next year for Lower Saucon. I had to give it away. So anyway, I spoke with Kathy Gorman, and she said that she did make a request. I don't know why, and no one tells us why. It was not approved, I guess, in Harrisburg. And the other thing that has to be emphasized, last year I was able to give a huge pot of money for that ball field, which was $500,000 or so. And the important thing is that everyone here has to know that I'm not saying it makes it happen, but it's important to always ask us for a support letter. So when you put in the request, then you tell me that you're requesting it, and then I follow up and let them know in Harrisburg that I support your request. And I never turn anyone down. Anyone who requests a support letter from me will get one. So I just didn't want this to slide by and have another year, go by, because sadly, it's a very small window of time when the applications can be in. I think it's from July only to September. So you'd have to get busy now.
So the next round's coming up, we're saying from
Yes.
July to September.
Before September, and I'm not sure the exact date, but your request and your grant would have to be submitted. And they're very strict with the deadline. I heard of one person who missed the deadline by 12 hours or something, and it was just thrown out. So you have to really follow whatever their rules are in Harrisburg. But, as a taxpayer, I'd like the money to be here because I know that we could use money. And as a state representative, it's my job to support everybody in my district. So again, I just wanted to make everybody aware that this is an opportunity. I've never gotten less than $225,000 to come to me. And my predecessor, I don't know, when I first came on board in 2020, again, there were not many requests made. And so I've tried to keep the fire companies informed, the police officers, because when I gave the money away, I gave it to Hecktown Fire Company, and I bought police cars in Nazareth. And I don't like to do that if I don't have to. I mean, I grew up in Nazareth, so that's wonderful, and my stepson's a firefighter in Hecktown. So I'm grateful that they got it, but I would like it to stay in the 131st district.
Okay, so can we, as a municipality, submit multiple grants?
Yes,
So if we contact our boards and Parks and Rec and say, hey, can you guys look around and see?
We do have a wish list from the Park and Rec Committee.
Yeah.
Well, I just use them as an example, but there's other committees, there's EAC, there's.
Typically, what I do in the grant administration process of this is to go through our capital plan. And we isolate certain items that are in our capital plan that council has already had looked at and reviewed and is considering for future projects.
yeah. And I don't think you should be shy about asking, because people will ask for big amounts. And if it gets on the list, even if I don't have enough money to give, I can give everything that I do have to it. So if you ask for something that costs $700,000 and I only have $300,000, at least I can give you the $300,000. It doesn't have to be exact.
And if I can just ask a couple of questions.
Mhm.
I guess I understood that you said the window to apply for the next fiscal year is July and August, or June and July?
It probably starts July 1st and goes to the end of September.
July to September. So
Mhm.
the funding that you're talking about, that this $300,000 that you had in calendar year 2024, you were looking, that would have been a request that would have been made last year by our township.
Yes, and Kathy said she did.
Okay, so, and we requested the $99,000,
Plus
which
she
then
had
got,
another request for 300 that didn't get.
that didn't get approved, but it's my understanding that your office wasn't aware that we were also making that other $300,000 request, and you weren't able
Yeah.
to provide the support letter for that?
I'm not sure, because today's Juneteenth and my staff wasn't able to find it, but I wanted them to go back and see if I had given a support letter, and Kathy was going to check to see with her records if she had asked for a support letter. And
Okay.
again, that's not the end-all be-all, because some of my municipalities do ask me regularly for support letters, and some of them don't, but then they get money anyway. So I don't know, I really don't know the ins and outs of what happens in Harrisburg, but I know that it is helpful to get a support letter.
Well, I definitely appreciate you bringing this to our attention. I appreciate that you would like to give your money that was allocated for Northampton County to your 131 district and Lower Saucon where you reside, so I appreciate that, and I'm hopeful that we can be really proactive since the window is just opening next month, that we can find a number of things. I'm sure there's things later on in the agenda, and obviously you know we have Lower Saucon Fire Rescue, so I hope that perhaps your office could also reach out to them.
Well, I do regularly send them letters
Okay.
because they have a whole other grant application process for fire companies. But I'll just tell you a couple of the things that got approved that are on the list this year. Fire company supplies like pressure equipment, dump trucks, police cars, a park pavilion, building renovations. So it's like not really narrowly defined what you can request. So just request as many things and as much as you want.
Well, thank you. I wish that our other $300,000 request was approved. And I want to thank the township for trying to achieve that and working with your office in the future to achieve as much as we can for the township.
Okay, and I don't know how Representative Freeman does it at his office, but I'm sure you can request it from him. What I've noticed, because he has all of Northampton County in his district, like I've seen him give money to Hellertown and, other places, but this year I saw him want to give us some money, you guys some money too. And then again, the Senate is a completely different system, so I don't know what Senator Boscola has to give. But I do know that I've never had less than $250,000 to give to Lower Saucon. So I feel like a philanthropist in a way. It's not my money, but I want to be able to direct it to my district if I can. So, thank you.
Thank you so
I may be
much.
recognized.
For coming. Thank you so much.
I'd like to be recognized and make a comment.
Sure.
Thank you. First of all, thank you to Representative McKenzie for joining us this evening. Sorry I'm not there in person to thank her in person. But I do want to thank her for the assistance in getting the state funding for the Eastern Road ball field. I think she was able to get us $500,000 or $550,000, which greatly offset the cost of this. I know there were a lot of residents that were gnashing their teeth and tearing their clothes because they thought that this ball field cost $4.5 billion. That's a lie. The real price is about $2.2, and over $500,000 of that came through Representative McKenzie. I think it's also important to note that the location of the Eastern Road ball field is actually outside of her district, outside of the 131st. It's actually in Representative Freeman's district. I would have hoped that Representative Freeman would be funding projects like that in his district, but he didn't do that. But nonetheless, we do have Representative McKenzie who cares about Lower Saucon Township and wants us to have great recreational facilities and other things. So what I would suggest is, you're talking about fire services. I'm not on the fire services committee, nor is Mr. Carocci, but previously we had meetings with fire services about creating a central fire station somewhere in the vicinity of Pope Valley. I would like to see an application for grant money to further that project. I think it's important for the community. We're a growing community, or at least we were, until the current majority took over and has an anti-development mindset. But nonetheless, I think it's important for us to have a first-rate fire station for our fire department. And they've identified that location as central to those larger plans. I haven't received any update from anybody who's on the Fire Service Committee as to where that stands. We're now 6 months into their tenure, and that has not moved forward. But nonetheless, I'd like to have an application to get some funding to pursue that, at least design and engineering, so that we have an idea as to what the potential cost of it's going to be. So that would be my recommendation and suggestion. And again, I'd like to thank the representative for being here with us and for always putting her heart first towards Lower Saucon Township.
Okay, thank you again.
Okay.
Next on, we have developer items. We have Sheetz for preliminary and final land development on Route 3727, Route 378. And for those here, for the applicant, you can come up to the table or this podium, whichever you wish. Just make sure that you state your name and you speak into a mic so it can be transcribed. applicant is proposing to demolish an existing bank and construct a 6,139 square foot Sheetz convenience store with drive-through window and 12 vehicle fueling positions. The applicant is requesting conditional preliminary final subdivision and site plan approval. So, we have representatives here from Sheetz. I'd like to welcome you.
Thank you.
And I don't know who wants to go first.
I guess I draw the short straw.
You're first.
Blake Marles, I'm an attorney with the firm of Stevens and Lee. With me is Jess Strittmatter, who is the project manager for Sheetz, and Brian Spray, who's the civil engineer for the project.
Welcome to the township.
Thank you. The description which you gave is accurate. This is a redevelopment project, not a greenfield project. This is on the old Saucon Valley Square shopping center site. There's a defunct bank sitting at the corner near the intersection, and Sheetz will take over that location. It's taking over as a tenant, not as an owner, so it has limitations on what it can do off-site. The landlord obviously has bigger plans than just Sheetz at that location. And during the course of the discussions with the Planning Commission, concerns were raised about some things that were occurring outside of our leased area that we can't control. We put the landlord in touch with the township and don't know the extent to which those issues will be addressed, but they primarily have to do with access behind the other buildings, which is something that, over which we have no control. We've been at this project for the better part of 2 years for several reasons. One of which is that we're putting gas tanks in the area, which obviously has to be very cautiously handled. We needed to make sure that the township knew that this was not a trucking center, this is an auto service center, and that was very important both to us and to Sheetz, because you design sites differently if it's a trucking draw than you would if it was an auto draw. So the site has very few constraints because basically there's a sea of macadam, and we're taking a piece of that macadam and redefining it. The last review letter from the township engineer, I believe, was May 17th. It's virtually a clean letter. There are some minor drawing things, and I'll let the engineer comment on that when he's ready. We appeared before the Planning Commission in May and requested a waiver from the requirement to separate preliminary and final, because everything that we would be doing on final is already on this plan. So the Planning Commission recommended unanimously that this become a preliminary final review and unanimously recommended approval of the plan. We're obviously happy to take any questions that the board, that the council may have and the public may have, but we think we've addressed everything that's come up over the various Planning Commission meetings.
Okay. If you have nothing to offer, I'm going to ask our engineer.
Please.
Do you have anything else to offer?
Andrew Musa from Hanover Engineering. So the letter itself addressed May 17th from Brian Cocker, laid out a couple of minor issues that we worked with Brian Spray on addressing in a future submission, as well as a couple of conditions that will also be addressed. And yeah, that's it.
Okay. Steve, did you have anything to offer?
I think it's appropriate to ask the applicant. You've received the review letter. You're willing to comply with all the terms of the letter, correct? Correct.
Yes.
And what you're asking for today is the approval for preliminary and final to move forward.
Yes, and we saw the proposed resolution conditions, and they're acceptable.
I'm sorry, they are acceptable, you said.
They are acceptable.
Thank you.
Okay, well, if there's no other discussion with that, I'd like to make a motion to approve conditional preliminary final subdivision and site plan approval for Sheetz Inc. based on the Hanover Engineering letter dated May 17, 2024. Would there be a second?
I'll second that.
Second.
Okay. That was Victoria. I heard Victoria first. Okay, so we'll go into council discussion. Jason?
I have no comments. I hope that this moves forward just like the project in Hellertown did.
Okay, is Tom on the phone? Tom's not on the phone, right? Okay, I support this. You met the conditions, so, wish you, so I don't have any other questions for you. I do have a comment after this is open. Victoria?
Okay, now your time for comment.
Thank you. I'm the liaison to the planning commission, so I had the opportunity to see two presentations that they came forward with to discuss the project. I think it's important that everybody know, like, it's a permitted use there. There's no issue with that site and the location. We've had, in fact, the planning commission had many thoughtful discussions with them about lighting and different things that the developer could do to make the best use of the property in light of the development they wanted to do. And I also think it was very nice that we had a good discussion about the Raiders Lane and the access point behind the entire shopping center. I believe I understand that the township has been in discussions, very productive discussions with the landlord, which would be the entire site, and that they're moving forward with doing some modifications to accommodate the concerns that had been raised by some of the residents that came forward during the planning commission process. So I did want to highlight that. I know if there are people in the audience or watching that, the township has been responsive to those concerns, even though they aren't specific to the Sheetz lease component, and that I think that the landlord is being proactive and working with the township to try and resolve those things so that the Raiders Lane concerns can be addressed appropriately. But I approve this. I think it's appropriate, and I look forward to having Sheetz as a business in our community.
Okay, next, Laura?
All right, so we looked at these plans. I sit on the EAC board, and we originally did have some questions. However, we didn't have all the information in front of us. And once we received that, we were satisfied with all the information that was provided. We rely heavily on our geologist, who is our chair. So he really looks through things that, we don't fully understand. So he gave it a thumbs up, so we're happy with that. I'm not sure if there's anything that you can do. In reading the Lehigh Valley Planning Commission letter, there was some talk and discussion in here about the sidewalk area and trying to help make it a little more pedestrian friendly. It's very odd how they have the bus stop there. I don't know if there's anything you can incorporate into your plan to assist with that or not.
Yeah, we discussed that several times with Lanta. Obviously, it's PennDOT right of way, so PennDOT ultimately determines what goes on there. But Lanta's perspective was that at such time as the shopping center develops, there probably will be utilization of bus activity that isn't there now. And so rather than establish where that bus stop would be and where it would be safest for people to get on and off, that probably is a decision that ought to be deferred. It probably does not make sense to have it along the frontage of the Sheetz property because people getting off and on the bus to get into the center don't have a clear path to the rest of the center. So if I were to speculate, and it's my speculation, not anything I've heard, my guess is it will probably be south of the main driveway because that would be the logical place for people to enter the shopping center safely.
Okay, well, we'll keep an eye on that then and discuss with Lanta. That was the only comments I had.
Okay, I'd just like to add one more thing. I don't know if this is a little bit of history here. That building you're knocking down was designed to look like a barn inside. And when the developer came to design the plans or, put together the plans, I forget how that came up, but there was a barn that was dismantled and they put it inside. So there's marriage marks in there, there's ladders, there's all kinds of neat barn features in there.
Is that salvageable? Do you know?
don't know that. You're the developer. I don't know.
We can find that out if it has salvage value, it makes sense to keep
So,
it. You have to have somebody keep it.
okay. The township may be interested, I don't know. But anyway, it's just a thought. I just had to tell some history here. So,
Priscilla, may I be recognized again since you went twice?
sure.
Would you share with the public the history of this, that you actually voted against the ordinance that allows this gas station service and convenience store to be constructed? So if you recall, last year, we had to change our ordinance to allow for this type of storage tank and the carbon geology that exists there. And I recall that you were against it. So in the interest of history, since we want to talk about history, I think we should also own how you did not have the vision to change the ordinance to allow this to happen.
So he's correct. And it was my prerogative to vote yes or no.
Yes, and I recall, and thank you for being supportive now.
And, okay. So with that, I guess we have a motion on the floor, so we have.
Okay, I didn't know where you're going.
Yeah, no, I am. A little slow.
We've only been doing this for 36 years.
I didn't hear what he said. What did he say?
It's okay, let's open it up.
No.
I think you've only been doing this for 36 years. You know the public gets to comment before every action.
I'd like to see you in 36 years doing this, Jason.
I got better things to do with my life.
Well, I've accomplished a lot up here, so. Okay, public comment. Who would like to
Like
go
what?
first? Anybody in the audience would like to go first?
I'll go.
You're talking to council, not the audience.
Well, maybe you can control the comments from your
I
supporters.
couldn't hear them.
Well, I can hear them and I'm half deaf, so.
Well, I'm
All
further
right.
away from you.
Give me the gavel, I'll run the meeting
Audience,
too.
you gotta please keep
Listen,
your.
I'd like to speak. I hear you folks blovate like crazy for hours. And I'd like to say, I think this is a very worthwhile project. Yes, it's very near where I live. Yes, there's gonna be a lot more traffic, but I'm not against it. I'm for it. And yes, I do remember what Jason was saying about putting tanks in the ground, and I remember how that blew up. But finally got overridden for various reasons. Now these folks are coming along. Sheetz is very nice. You see several of them up and down 412. They're great. Great additions. And best of all, they add revenue, all right? And it's clean revenue, and it's the kind of revenue you'd like to have. So I'm all in favor of it. I don't think there's a downside to it, except yes, it's gonna change from an old Fulton Bank barn to something a little bit more modern, which are a lot of people are gonna use. That's the kind of thing we need on 378, and we do need development along there, because obviously it's not happening. So it's gonna fall on the taxpayers if good businesses like Sheetz don't come in. So I'm very much in favor. I thank you, gentlemen.
Okay, next. I see no other people interested, so with that, can we have a roll call, Kathy?
Ms. Althoff Cordero,
Yes.
Ms. Ray,
Yes.
Ms. DeLeon,
Yes.
Mr. Bononis.
Yes.
Motion passes 4-0, Mr. Carocci absent.
Okay, thank you very much. Do we need to do anything else? We're gonna sign that.
We have one other thing, and that is the planning module. I don't think that resolution has been approved by the board so that we can send it to DEP.
I think that's right. Correct, that's where we are. Sorry, the planning module.
So the motion actually contains that the applicant, that the council approve this as 7 additional EDUs as part of this.
It does, but the resolution itself has to go with the module.
Okay, so you're requesting a
To
separate.
approve the standard resolution so that the module can be sent.
So we need a separate resolution for that.
Yes.
So that's not on the, so since this is being approved tonight, can
We can do it then.
we can, then I'll make.
It's on the agenda, so.
To approve the resolution, whatever the next number is, to approve the how many EDUs?
It's 7 additional EDUs, 8 total. 7 additional EDUs, 8 total.
So
There was
how
one
are we
already
doing
used.
7 and 8? I don't understand.
There was one previously approved for that location for the bank.
For the
so
bank.
it's now
Okay, so it's
8.
already there,
Yes.
so now we're just doing the 7. I understand.
Thank you for
Okay,
clarifying.
So then,
I'll make a motion then to approve a resolution, whatever the next resolution number is, to allocate 7 EDUs to this project.
for clarification, 7 additional EDUs, which would make it 8 total EDUs.
Yes.
What did I say?
That's okay.
I'm dyslexia, so I converse numbers and letters and stuff. Okay, so, is that enough for the motion?
Is that sufficient for the motion for the applicant? Okay, so there's the motion. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Okay, so we have a motion and a second, and back to council discussion. Jason?
I have no comments. I don't need to hear myself talk.
I support it. Victoria?
I don't have any additional comment.
Laura?
Yeah,
Okay, a public comment? Anyone in the audience wish to speak on this? Hearing none, may we have a roll call then for the resolution?
Ms. Gray,
yes.
Ms. Delian,
Yes.
Mr. Benonis,
Yes.
Ms. Alcott Cordero.
Yes.
Motion passes 4-0, Mr. Carocci absent.
Okay, and there's standard language for this resolution doing these allocation things.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Good luck. We'll be seeing you at Sheetz's. Okay, next, we have authorized payments to CH&N Construction for the Easton Road Ball Field project. The township received the following requests for payment from CH&N Construction for the Easton Road Ball Field project. These payments requests have been reviewed by Hanover Engineering Associates, and they are recommending payment. Number 1, request for payment number 7 from bid number 1 in the amount of $70,371.40. Number 2, request for payment number 2 from bid number 2 in the amount of $997,649.68. Included in this payment is a change order for $5,024.64. So I make a motion to approve payment number 7 for bid number 1 in the amount of $70,371.40, and payment number 2 for bid number 2 in the amount of $997,649.68 to CH&N Construction for the Easton Road Ball Field project.
Second.
Okay, so Chris and Jason. And Brian, do you have anything else to, oh, you got Brian. Sorry, you can see Brian.
Never fill his shoes.
Okay, did you have anything else to add to this?
No, so the change order that was mentioned was in regards to the testing and inspections that were done on the site. Change order is kind of a loose term for it, but that's how they're processed. It's just for foundation testing and inspection oversight.
Okay, thank you. Anyone else? Kathy, Brian, Steve? Okay. So, council discussion. Jason?
Yeah, again, I would like to thank Representative McKenzie for helping bring in $550,000 to help pay for this project. I would also point out that, $800,000 or $900,000 of American Relief Fund money was used toward this project, so the bills that we're currently paying are covered by money from other sources, not Lower Saucon Township taxpayers. And for all the haters that are out there, I encourage you to drive by and take a look at what progress looks like. The beautiful ball field is going to be used by the community for the next 40 or 50 years. The lighted field, it keeps kids active and healthy. So I'm very happy that this project's moving along, and I look forward to the completion.
Okay, Tom's not here. I don't have a problem with this. Victoria?
Thank you. We have to approve, just again for the public's appreciation, since the contracts were awarded last year in 2023, we have an obligation to approve those and complying with our contractual obligations. So I'm in approval of that. I will note that we did receive from Kathy a few weeks ago, or maybe it was a few days ago, I can't remember, an update on the total expenses for the ball field and their breakdown, including the grant money from Representative McKenzie. So just so everybody's clear, there were two separate bids that encompassed the project. The first bid was $1,957,270.13. The second bid, which occurred in November and December sometime 2023, was for $1,395,500. So the total project cost was $3,352,770.13. There were some change orders that increased that to $3,453,453.60. We've paid, at least at that time, $1,185,080.38. Outstanding was $2,268,373.22. Brian, as you heard in the past, indicated that we were able to at least recoup some of the overage with a savings of $20,000. And then there was the grant award of $508,000. So if you take a look at the total cost of $3,453,453.60, and you subtract the $20,000 and then the $508,000, we're still looking at upwards of $2.9 million of lower Saucon taxpayer dollars going into that. And I would note that the grant funding that comes from the state it comes from casino money. But it's not, again, it's not free. I mean, it's because we have casinos and there's uses, and that's why it comes back. So it's a secondary type of grant for us, but overall, we're still looking at taxpayers paying upward of $2.8 million after we take into consideration the grant funding from Ms. McKenzie and the state.
Okay, thank you.
Victoria, stop misleading the public again. You gotta also use American Relief Fund money. You haven't accounted for any of that.
I'm going off of the email received from Ms. Gorman. The dollar figures are what they stated. I think Ms. Gorman, you sent out that email with the figures I just listed.
Do
Kathy?
your own homework, Victoria.
We did budget $500,000 of the American Rescue money to go to.
Okay, and that's American Rescue Fund money provided to us by the state and the federal government, which we pay those taxes in our taxes also. So again, you pay tax dollars, it comes back to you. Whether you pay them to Lower Saucon, the federal government, the state government, you get money back that way.
Okay, Laura?
American Relief Fund money is federal money,
Please,
not
you're
state
not being
money.
recognized. Laura?
I don't have any additional.
I don't care if I haven't been recognized.
Project.
Okay, so cancel discussion. Now we're going to open it up to the public. Anybody out there? Yes, sir.
Yes, my name is Lawrence Hoptop. I live on 2700 Reddington Road. And I'm talking about this baseball field that we have built there. First place, there's millions of dollars we're spending for this baseball field. I can't understand how this could get approved. And I have one question, because first it's a lot of money, and I don't think there was a baseball field there before. And so now we got another baseball field taking over the first one, and I don't see the big gain here. And I have a question. Is it true that there's no bathrooms at this facility? Mr. Lenotis, you know all about it. Is there a bathroom there or no? Yes or no? So I guess for $3 million, you can't expect to get a bathroom, right? We're all gonna go to the bathroom in a week. So anyway, so that's my
You're
first
mumbling,
thing.
I can't hear you.
Is there a bathroom at the baseball field?
You've been there for all the plans, you can look at it, sir.
I'm asking you.
The plans are available to you, sir, you can take a look at it.
So I guess there's no, okay, we know where this is going.
Right.
And so he spent all this money, we have a baseball field that I don't think the Phillies are gonna come there to play, and I don't think the Yankees are gonna come there to play. And not only that, but if you go there to play, you better bring a porta potty with you because there's no bathrooms there, and it's sold for all these millions of dollars. So, and Mr. Benonis makes a point of worrying about spending taxpayers' money, but he seems not to worry about that.
So
I'm trying to get clarification.
he's disingenuous about his wants, and then he interrupts me when I'm talking because he has a good answer.
You're out of order, Jason.
Yeah, that's how it works, it's out of order.
Clarification.
You know, can I make a suggestion? You should shut up his phone. You should silence him when he's talking like
I
that.
wish I
Mute it.
could. I wish I could do that.
So this guy's worried about taxpayers' money, and he's blowing millions of dollars. And I'll add something else to that too. Maybe you could explain to me where the 50,000 that went to Southern Lehigh Library, where that went?
Wait, that's out of order, it's off.
Oh, I said nothing, we'll get to that later. But Jason, make sure you get a bathroom next time.
Okay. All right, public.
All right, I need to ask Mr. Ostoff a question for clarification.
Jason, you're out of order. Is there anyone else?
I'm not out of order. The gentleman was directly commenting, I need clarification.
And
Is it appropriate to use taxpayer dollars and have your daughter vote on things when she has a conflict of interest because it has a financial benefit to you and your property, alleged property value?
You're out of order, Jason.
Is that
Please
appropriate?
keep
It's
your
not out of
comments.
order. Because the gentleman wants to talk about it. He opened up the subject. So let's talk about
Keep your
that.
comments.
This gentleman had his daughter vote on things or subject to litigation as a
Okay,
result of
motion
it
for
because she
recess.
has violated the Ethics Act according to the
Okay,
complaint.
all in favor?
And the landfill seeking $1.1 million more in
Okay,
damages in
meeting
the township
is
because of
recessed at
the actions of the
7:33.
votes of Victoria Cordero,
Mike, please.
who made those votes.
My name is
Bob, you have to wait. All right, I'm going to reconvene the meeting at 7:34. Bobby, go ahead.
Okay, my name is Bob Kemmer. I live in Steel City. I'm
I
also
want the record to reflect that I was just.
very
cut off from the
disturbed about this
communication.
ball
I'm
field.
sorry to interrupt you, Mr. Kemmer.
I'd like to know whose boondoggle it was from the beginning. And what is the final price of this? Do we have a final price yet? I heard 3 million, I heard 3.5, I have 4. What is the final price of this boondoggle? And whose idea was it from the get-go to put this field in like this? Now talk about wasting taxpayers' money. That's all I have to say.
Don't use it.
Thank you. Anyone
Don't
else in
do
the
it, don't use
audience?
it, don't encourage others to use it. Plenty of people are very happy with it, sir.
And-
Well, you pay for it then.
Okay, please, no comments from the audience like that.
Did you ask for additional comment?
What happened to Mr. Ostoff before I was cut off?
Anne Marie Slavak, Lower.
Did he answer my question?
I don't know all the ins and outs of the ball field. I wasn't here when it was approved, but it seems to me like if there's something that a township or a government or a municipality should be doing, it might be a ball field. I can't believe that the citizens of this township are complaining and whining and crying about a ball field. Like it's a boondoggle, it's a ball field. Kids are gonna play baseball there. I think it's just interesting that you're all okay with the Sheetz and the gas tanks going in the ground. I wonder if they were near your properties, how you would feel about it.
Okay, next, anybody else would like to speak on this issue?
I bet you they use taxpayer
Please state
dollars
your
to
name
fund
for the
litigation
record.
against it, just like they did for the cell phone tower and the landfill.
Are we doing,
Special interest at work.
Speak into the mic, please, and stay on topic.
are there multiple comments per public comment per individual?
Wait a minute, I thought I had been recognized. She said, state your name.
Please state your name.
Do I have the floor?
Yes, you
Okay, just following the rules. All right, Dave Boulan. Do you want my address?
No.
Okay. I think ball fields, if you rather have your children out running around the streets or playing ball, I think it's pretty clear which it is. By the way, I don't know whether most of you know it or not, but the national pastime in this country is baseball. Gee, wow, isn't that interesting? And you wouldn't believe how many kids come from little small communities such as this because they had a chance to play baseball and did. And that's what drives kids. They enjoy the fun, the entertainment, the action of it. And that's what that baseball field provides. So I think we put in some other facilities that I remember Mr. Carocci talking about and people laughing about, except unfortunately trying to get a slot to play there is very difficult. So yes, maybe some of us don't need much activity and we get overweight, but I would suggest it's good for everybody, good for mind, body, and soul. So yes, we had plenty of people here with their kids and their coaches. They're not here now because the ball field's in, all right? So they'll be playing on it, and that's a good thing. It's not just buildings like this, so I'm in favor of it. And by the way, I do appreciate when you follow your rules and keep people on track without blasting the council members or each other. I think that's a good thing. Thank you.
Okay, anybody else would like to speak on this topic? Please stay on topic.
Hi, Diane. I was watching at home. I had to come in. Yeah, the ball field is a good thing, but just know this is a massive ball field. This is not, your little kids are not going there to play. Girls are not going there to play. This is for the elite of the ball field kids to play. So it's not like, we don't have those pickleball courts for everybody yet, but we gonna have a ball field that very few individuals can play.
Okay, thank you.
Who said that females can't play in this ball field, and who said that they have to be only players? This is for anybody age 15
Anybody
and
in the
above.
audience like to speak on this comment?
So let's clarify that. What information do you have about that, Ms. Hollowell?
It's like a major
This is a
league ball
question
field.
and
This isn't a question and answer, Jason.
No, I'm asking for
Okay.
clarification for comment. I'm permitted to do that. And I will do that. If somebody's going to stand up there and shoot their mouth off and be uninformed, I'm going to ask what the basis is for their information. I know you'd like that because it supports your agenda. But I think the public needs to know the reality. When people stand up there and say stupid things, what the
You know
reality
what?
is.
You're being rude. So,
I'm not being rude.
yes,
I'm
you are.
calling out a stupid comment that's uninformed, and I want to know what the basis of it is.
But that's what you like to do. Anybody else out there like to speak on this topic?
You don't.
Okay, I guess if there's none, can we have a roll call, please, Kathy?
Mr. Benonis,
Yes.
Ms. Alcalá Cordero,
Yes.
Ms. Ray. Ms. Darnell.
Yes.
Motion passes 4-0. Mr. Carocci absent.
Okay, thank you. The next item's been taken off the agenda, and we're moving on to C, which is, well, I guess the letters don't add up anymore. Student Resource Officer, discussion and possible action. Council directed Chief Bart to initiate discussions with the Saucon Valley School District Board. Council will discuss the outcome of those discussions and direct staff on their decision. So, at this point, I'd like to
I think what would make sense under these circumstances is to clarify, to confirm what you earlier said, we had an executive session, we had some discussion about it, and if someone is inclined to make a motion to authorize either Chief Barn or the appropriate representative of the township to respond back to the school board in accordance with the direction provided, or the proposed direction provided in the executive session.
Okay, and I'll move to, as stated by the solicitor. Okay.
Second.
Okay, so it's Chris and Jason. Council discussion, anybody would like to add anything to that? I guess.
Yeah, the only thing that I would add is I'm glad that the school district has considered the information that was provided to them on this, and I'm glad that discussions are ongoing, and I hope that this comes to a fruition. I think it's good for the school to have greater safety, good for the students, and I'm glad that Lower Saucon Township and the school district are coming together to hopefully partner on this important issue.
Okay, and I would also like to say that, I'm supportive of a student resource officer, and we'll see where this goes. So, Victoria?
I concur with both Mr. Benonis and Ms. DeLeon. I like that we can concur on some things together. So I concur, and I want to thank Chief Barn and the school district for, and the township, our staff for working to move forward on this. Thank you.
Okay, Laura?
Yes, and I agree as well as per our discussion, to move forward with some negotiation with this, and hopefully we come to some good agreement.
Okay. Anyone in the audience like to speak to this issue? Please come to the mic and state your name. Please stay on topic.
Brian Evans, Susan Lane. Would just like to say, I'm not exactly clear what happened in the executive session. It sounds like it's positive moving forward. I'm a parent of children in the Saucon Valley School District, and I cannot wait for the days that we are no longer the only school district in the Lehigh Valley to not have a school resource officer and have one of Lower Saucon's finest in those hallways every single day.
Okay, thank you. Anybody else like to come up and say something on this topic?
So would there be,
You have to state your name again for the record, please. The transcriptionist cannot see you.
oh, Dave Boulan.
Thank you.
The question is, I heard 2 resource officers, if that gentleman was correct. Is that true?
This is not a question and answer, so it's not appropriate to be talking.
Okay, so we can't ask any questions, so the only thing we can do is make statements?
Comment.
You just answered a question. Thank you, sir. Just goes to show. I can only imagine there are several portions of the day that you would certainly want to, and this is from watching, obviously, the news, that things tend to happen within the school as a rule. So I would ask, are we talking about officers for in the school hours, nominally from, I'll say 8 to 4, as opposed to maybe in the school officers and then watching kids load on buses, which then takes you to, gee, how about kids playing ball under school auspices? Would they also have police officers? Has anybody thought about that? Wow, it's awful quiet in here. Because that could lead to multiple situations where you have baseball going on, maybe soccer somewhere, which are all school related. Is the township going to have police officers monitor all of those things also? And is there anything else? How about weekend activities that are school related? Well, I guess I'm not going to get any answers, so it's sort of worthless. All you do is get yelled down here.
Okay, anybody else like to make a comment on this topic? And hearing, seeing none, can we have a roll call, please, Kathy?
Ms. Alcoff Cordero?
Yes.
Ms. Ray?
Yes.
Ms. Delian?
Yes.
Mr. Benonis?
Yes.
Motion passes 4-0. Mr. Carocci absent.
Okay, moving on. We have the Fire Chief Administrator's position, discussion and possible action. The Fire Services Committee has been working on developing a position to address the administrative functions of the volunteer fire department. This would be a township position, and the employee would not only be responsible for the reports for the volunteer fire department, but also any reports required by council. This is the first step in creating a new township position if council approves. So Laura and Victoria, you're the fire services liaison, so it's you have the floor. Who wants to go first? Laura, you want to go first?
Laura, you want to go? Or you want to go?
I'll go. I probably have less to say. All right, so, I mean, as was mentioned, we're looking at creating a fire chief position in the township. This is step 1. There's multiple steps involved. So in meeting with our volunteer fire departments, this is something that they have talked to us about repeatedly as something they see as being a priority, something that would help their organization. I compare it to when you work for a large corporation, if it's well managed, well organized, you have good, managers leading you, it motivates your employees, so it really helps things run smoothly. So if we can have that ongoing in the future, I think it would be a great benefit to our fire department. More and more companies throughout Pennsylvania are moving towards this. I mean, a lot of places are fully run by paid staff. Many more are partial. They might have a few people that they keep on board as paid so that they know they have guaranteed service, especially during working hours. It's hard to get these guys, they work full-time jobs and then they're doing this full-time job on the side. So it's a lot that they give to us. Our fire department, some of the basic stats, though, we have one guy who's designated as the chief. He oversees 65 volunteer members, over $15 million of equipment, plus all our fire stations, whatever that value is. And they serve over 11,000 residents in our township, as well as the nearby communities. So it's a big monumental task, and a lot falls on their shoulders. And if you think about it, if we have a police chief, and of course he's paid, he oversees his staff. So if you look at it from that perspective, you might think, well, here we have this guy who's doing a huge task that's similar, I would say, in the benefits that it provides to the community and the need that it serves. So I think it's a well worth cause to start moving down this road. So this is what we're doing.
Victoria?
Yeah, thank you. So I've had the pleasure of being the liaison to the Fire Services Committee along with Laura, and as indicated, we have been meeting with them regularly once a month since January, February, I can't remember, maybe it was, I can't remember which month we started, but the number one thing for me is we have a volunteer fire force and they're very dedicated. They come here and they produce very professional reports to us. They I think, represent us with the highest level of integrity whenever they respond to an incident. And they are of such incredible value to us. So from the beginning when I joined Fire Services, my intent was to say, how can we as a township support the volunteers? Because volunteering for your community is the greatest reward. I love volunteering for the community, and I get benefits out of it, and I know they do. But it is a tremendous burden for them, given the training time that they need to dedicate, also responding at all hours of the day and night. Obviously, there's concerns when they're at work and they have to leave work to come and get permission to leave work. Do they get paid for that time when they leave work early? Then there's other considerations, like maybe they worked a really hard shift at work and then at night they went and fought a fire and they have to go back to work the next day. So those are all the things that I think about and that I take into consideration. And I wanted to try to figure out a way that we could help the fire company and support them so that not only we continue the robust and I think proud history we have with volunteer fire departments in Lower Saucon, but maintain that moving forward. And the biggest way that I think we can do that is by providing a paid position within the township that would support them so that they don't spend as much time on the administrative tasks and they can spend more time with their family and do the other things that are important to them in their lives so that we can have more volunteer fire people come forward and volunteer in the future and keep the tremendous assets that we have right now and the volunteers we currently have. So that was the idea behind the position. If you all had an opportunity to take a look at what was attached to the agenda item, you'll see that there was a proposed job description, which includes it includes a listing of all the things that our volunteers do for us right now. And as Laura said, all of the other supervisory roles within our township are paid positions. So this is the least I think we can do, and it's a great step forward. I want to let the fire company know that I continue to thank them and I respect their time. I appreciate the meetings that we have. I mean, again, they meet with us monthly and spend at least a couple hours each meeting on top of all the other stuff. So this is something that I'm hopeful that we can move forward with. So with that, I would like to make a motion that we direct our township staff to move forward in creating the position within our administrative code. And the one thing that had been identified is that it needs to be subject to the volunteer fire company amending their bylaws as a precursor to us moving forward with the position on our end. And then with that, I'd also like to include a motion to allow the township to...
Wait, one motion at a time.
It's all within the motion. The motion is to authorize the staff to move forward with creating the position subject to the fire company amending their bylaws as a precursor, and also authorize the township to execute any contracts with a consulting firm up to the expense of $20,000 to help the township.
Two different motions. The consultant.
Make that a separate motion.
That has to be a separate motion. You're creating the, yes, do you agree with me?
I think it's better to do it until.
Yes.
Okay, that's fine. So then the first motion is to authorize the township to move forward with creating the fire chief position, amending our administrative code, subject to the fire company amending their bylaws. So that's the first motion.
I'll second that.
Laura? Okay, so we have a motion on the floor, council discussion. Jason?
Well, I'm glad to finally have a fire services report from the members of the fire services committee. It's now the end of June, and I haven't received, the public hasn't received any communications with regard to fire services at any council meeting. So assuming that those meetings actually took place, I'd like to know what else was discussed at those meetings and who was participating in them. I'm not sure why there is a compelling need to have a paid fire chief or fire marshal. That hasn't been set forth to me, other than the fact that it would be nice to have somebody in that role. It seems to me like our fire services are adequately staffed. There's certainly a number of volunteers that are involved. In fact, I think their numbers are up. The township has been highly supportive of fire services. We've purchased a lot of multi-million-dollar fire trucks. We've helped with grant writing and other initiatives. We've bought them a bunch of equipment. So the township has been very supportive over the years in providing quality fire services through volunteers. I'd like to know who from the fire department attended those meetings and advocated for a paid fire chief. Somebody answer that question? Anyone? Okay, so I guess that question won't be answered. I guess my next question then is this something that was lobbied for by the fire chief, Ty Johnson? Can somebody answer that? Okay, so we don't know why there's a compelling need to have a paid fire chief. We don't know who from the fire services advocated for it. We don't know if the current fire chief lobbied for this to happen. This just seems very odd to me that there would be an effort underway to have additional salary and benefits paid by the township for something that hasn't been explained as a need for the township. I would also point out to the public that they're aware that individuals who work for the township, specifically Public Works, are permitted to leave their job in Public Works and go respond to emergencies when they're on duty, and they get paid by the township. So, again, it seems to me that, there's been comments about people needing to take time and not be paid for it. That's not exactly the case. Perhaps after hours, that's the case. But certainly that's not the exclusive way that individuals who respond to emergencies in the township aren't paid. In fact, the township's already paying for it in certain ways. So I'd like to have a better understanding also about the job description here. Who came up with the job description? Is it thorough? Is it consistent with job descriptions for other fire chiefs in other municipalities? Do we have any history of any other municipalities that went from volunteer fire services to a paid fire chief? And if so, have they been consulted at all as to how that process worked and what they looked for? Do we have any answers to those questions? No. Okay. So, this just seems like a knee-jerk reaction from the moron majority yet again. I'm not saying I'm not in favor of a paid fire chief, but I think I need more justification for it, and that hasn't been explained to me. The job needs to be posted. Interviews need to take place, and I'm concerned about how that interview process may go, particularly the way the last interview process went with regard to the current township manager vacancy. We already saw how that was handled, and this process, I suspect, would go the same way. And I think if this moves forward, the township residents deserve to have the most qualified person serving as the fire chief, and not just some knee-jerk reaction or a political appointment that from certain members are trying to gain points from certain contingencies in the township. That's all I have.
Okay, well, I support creating this position, and there's going to be things following up after it. So, Victoria?
Yeah, I just wanted to, I forgot to ask Kathy. Kathy's been attending our fire services meetings, and I believe that she also historically has attended those fire services meetings. So I was hopeful that Kathy could also give some insight into the background. I joined council in January, so my understanding is that the discussion of this position has been historically something the township has looked into and has been a part of the prior years' discussion. So I'm hopeful she can provide that information. And also, there was a question about, whether we've identified other municipalities and looked at other ordinances, and if you can provide some insight into how you've helped the fire services committee in that respect.
I have been involved in the fire services committees for going on 15 years. This position has been discussed in committees, maybe not actively in the last year or so, but has been on and off for about 10 years. I think the priority for the last administration was facilities and infrastructure and buildings, but prior to that, this has been a reviewed and considered and worked around. There's a lot of logistics involved in this position, so we were being very cautious in trying to create it and making sure we do the necessary steps. We did review with other municipalities. We did review other municipal ordinances that have this type of position. That includes areas in Bucks County as well as Upper Saucon. I spoke directly with the Upper Saucon fire chief there. There are some logistics and some items that we would need to hammer out. But I think at this point we're looking for more of the concept and the idea of council's support of moving forward with this type of position, and then we would take the necessary steps afterwards to ensure that we're dotting our I's and crossing our T's.
Thank you, Kathy.
Okay.
Kathy, can you explain in the past why other councils haven't moved forward with this? Were there certain regions that you could enumerate, or can you do some research on that and find out?
I can.
And also, with regard to Upper Saucon Township, my understanding is that they have a fire marshal. The fire marshal's role is not just overseeing the fire department, but also serve for inspection and enforcement role. And I'm not sure what credentials are required to do that role.
Well, that is one of the aspects that was of a concern, is the actual title of the position and the ramifications of that, which I believe Ms. Alta-Cordero would address at the next item on the issue, or next motion she was going to bring forward.
Okay, Laura?
No, I already gave my comment, no.
Well, you're next on my sequence here. Did you have anything else to add?
No, I mean, we have discussed this at length for quite a while, so it's not a knee-jerk reaction to, you know, somebody pressuring us last week, we gotta have this. It's been thought of and looked at, and when I was out at PSATS, I did specifically attend PSATS training on volunteer fire services to hear about some of the issues going on. Like I said, it's not just here, it's the whole state of Pennsylvania. So it seems to be proactive maybe to start to take action and consider doing this before we do have things falling apart. So we have a great volunteer base in place, and we'd like to keep it that way.
Okay, with that then, I'm gonna open it up to public comment. Please stay on topic and speak into the mic and give your name.
Donna Louder. First, let me start by saying that I do support this paid fire chief. In fact, when we had the train derailment in Still City, I think I read a letter to council recommending a paid fire chief. For the simple reason, when the news people were doing their interviews, at the podium stood Chief Bart, paid police chief, Norfolk Southern, council members also paid, the township manager was also paid, and then there was Ty Johnson, volunteer fireman, who actually was managing the entire situation until Norfolk Southern came in and took over. So kudos to Mr. Johnson. Whoever gets the chief position, good for them. My question, Kathy, I need to know, I was on the fire service committee too when I was on council. I recall something about how we would lose the status of a volunteer fire company, and how would that affect the township? I don't recall like the title, but is that something you can answer?
That is one of the logistics that we want to ensure, that when adopting an ordinance or the employment policy, that we're not disrupting that and putting the township at risk.
Okay. The second thing was, I also recall when there was talk of a paid fire company, there had to be somebody who would oversee the operations, so that there was transparency for everything. This fire company is fantastic, but crossing their T's and dotting their I's, but in the same token, the township now has money involved as well. So we need to make sure that we have full transparency on what's going on. But yeah, I think it's a good idea, and I support it. Thank you.
And thank you for your comments. Anybody else like to come up to the mic? Okay, again, I'm going to ask to state your name and stay on topic, please.
Sure. Dave Boulin. Stay on topic, I will. As was mentioned perhaps previously, certainly in previous meetings, positions such as this should be posted. And from what I heard earlier and have not been able to address, maybe around when we get done here, at the very end, okay, I'd like to know that these are posted. I'd like to know that each of the council members have indeed participated in the discussions. I find that very, very unfortunate that we're now hearing that isn't the case. I think some council members bloviate endlessly while others all of a sudden are not receiving information. If that's true, that's got to stop. Job posting, absolutely essential. Ty Johnson, fantastic guy, could be the best. Could be third or fourth if you put out these posts to other counties and whatnot as to the quality of who's doing what, et cetera, maybe much larger firms. So I would suggest that. I find it's very unfortunate when the town manager is being asked for her opinions on things when she's really here paid to service you people and not make these kinds of decisions. And I ask that council members don't do that anymore. Past council, past manager, that would have not happened, and I don't think it's appropriate. I also find it's interesting that there are two people on this council that are on none of these committees for whatever reason. Now, maybe I'm wrong. I haven't listened to Parks and I don't know, whatever else, but I'm starting to see it's a very one-sided organization here, and I don't think that helps grow the town. PSAT, I heard that somebody attended PSAT. Boy, I'd really like to know more about PSAT, and therefore I go look for a report from those that attended PSAT and crickets, nothing. Can we please add that the reports will be generated by those that go off to conferences and such not, and what they find out and who they talk to? It's not a picnic. It never was for me when I went off, came back. So I'm asking, yeah, that's the real world. I'm asking that be done. It's not. If you can't do that, you shouldn't be in a position to go off. That's my comment.
Okay, thank you. Anyone else like to speak on this issue? Okay, seeing none, I guess we need a roll call on that first motion.
Ms. Ray?
Yes.
Ms. Delian?
Yes.
Mr. Benonis?
No, only because I have a number of questions that haven't been answered. I certainly support fire services, and I'm not saying that I'm necessarily against this, but I'd like my questions answered first, and clearly those questions.
Ms. Apatow?
Yes.
Motion passes 3-1, Mr. Carocci absent.
Okay, you had another motion you wanted to make?
Yes, so clearly we have a situation where this is a new position for the township, and it is a new relationship, I shouldn't say, it's a new relationship with our fire department. I have enjoyed working with them and appreciate the time that we've spent together, and I look forward to continuing that discussion with them in moving forward and creating this position. With that being said, I want to make sure the township is doing everything it needs to do in working with the fire company in a collaborative fashion to ensure that we do have all the things covered that we need to in our ordinances, our administrative code, the job description, and the hiring process, so that we can feel comfortable from both the fire company's perspective and the township's perspective on how this role will look moving forward. So I would like to make a motion for the township, to authorize the township to engage with the consulting services of Jerome E. Ozog, of Jerome Ozog Enterprises LLC at a cost not to exceed $20,000 to assist the township and the fire company as we work together in this collaborative process. The idea is that the consulting services would assist us collaboratively, not to dictate what we have to do and what the fire company has to do, but to really help us ensure that we're doing everything appropriately in compliance with the state regulations and ensuring the continued robust services of volunteer fire company along with the paid position that we'd like to offer. Jerome is somebody that I met at PSATS also. He has over 25 years of experience working with volunteer fire companies. He's not somebody that comes from the paid force background. So he works with volunteer fire companies and municipalities in helping both the volunteer company and the municipality work together to find solutions to the mutually desirable outcomes that they would like. So in this situation, we're looking to create a fire chief's position, and this consulting service would assist us in making sure that we do that. I did receive from Jerome a full-page description of his background. He has a bachelor's and a master's degree in addition, does this as a consulting service. He's also provided me with a number of projects that he has worked with different communities throughout the state of varying sizes, varying populations to help the community in achieving their goals, including creating a professional or a paid fire chief position for other communities and ensuring that the volunteer fire companies have their needs met in what they want to do moving forward. So I have this information. I provided it to Kathy. We did have it here for council in our packets. Unfortunately, I know Mr. Benonis is on the phone, so he doesn't, I don't think he has it unless he got it via email. But this information will be available to everybody who would like to see it moving forward. To give a brief summary, because I know that Mr. Benonis is not here in person, he provided a list of 8 different projects, I think, in which he worked with the community and the volunteer fire companies, some of which had multiple volunteer fire companies, some of which only had one, but they had strategic goals and developing those. The next step would be that he would meet with the fire services liaison and the fire company representatives to identify what we would like him to help us with, and us meaning the fire company and the township mutually to create this position. So I would like to make a motion to authorize the township to engage with him to assist the township in ensuring that we're doing everything we need to do, dotting our I's, crossing our T's, not to exceed a cost of $20,000.
And I'll second that.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded. Any other discussion, Jason?
Yeah, I find it deeply troubling that Mr. Ozog is being identified here for the first time during the meeting. I've not seen a copy of his credentials. He may be eminently qualified to try to identify and help out with this initiative moving forward, but it's unclear to me what his credentials are. You're proposing spending $20,000 to hire this guy. It sounds like this is already a done deal. It sounds like Victoria already talked with him. It sounds like meetings already being planned. And it was never provided to me as a member of council, and presumably the public is not aware of this. So I would suggest that this be tabled until we have an opportunity for everybody to review the credentials of Mr. Ozog to see if he in fact is the right person to help out with this initiative, and see if there are other people that may be more qualified than him. I don't understand what the rush is for this. As Kathy said, this issue has been discussed off and on for greater than 15 years. And to rush to hire Mr. Ozog because Victoria allegedly had a conversation with him at PSAP and allegedly had communications with him. I don't trust anything she says or does. So I think it's inappropriate to move forward with this under these circumstances. I'm not saying that I'm necessarily against Mr. Ozog, but I think we need more time to consider his credentials and see what else may be available to us.
Okay, I'm supportive of this. Victoria?
Yeah, I mean, I can read this, but if I did, it would be more like we're at C-SPAN. So I don't want to read this, but I can assure you that this gentleman has worked with many communities, and he has highly qualified, both in his professional experience, but also volunteer fire experience, and with doing this type of work. Again, it was a connection I made at PSATs, and he has provided us with substantial background information to assure the township that he would be able to assist us in this endeavor.
Okay, Laura?
And to be clear, PSAT occurred 10 weeks ago, and it's the first time we're hearing about Mr. Ozog.
Laura?
Okay, yes, so I think it's a very specialized area, so I don't know that there would be a whole lot of people that do this in the general area. I think he's very well qualified, and I would like to move forward with having his assistance.
Okay. Opening up to public comment. Anyone in the audience like to speak on this subject, please come to this podium. And state your name and stay on topic, please.
Dave Luan. Yeah, I absolutely agree. Peace, that was 10 weeks ago. Here we are, no reports, just met him and thinks he's great. I've asked before that things such as resumes be posted. All right, I'd like very much to see who this person is. Is that a problem? If we learn who, unfortunately, we found out with the solicitor previously, all set to go, handed to us, here it is, vote on it, and a week later, gone so. So I don't go for that. I don't like this idea of I think he's great and everybody else thinks he's great. Those are really great, they're nice words. He's got a master's degree. We had an engineer in here a while back who I'm an engineer talking about the cell tower, and we found out it's not mechanical engineering, it's life sciences engineering. And yet that got palmed off on us. So I'm really getting a little tired of having people tell me how great somebody is. It's like TV. I want to see and I want to understand and I want to read it. And by the way, that Sheetz report, all 40-odd pages of it, that's what we need when we're hiring people that we expect to be good. And $20,000, whether it's firm A, B, or C, can mean a lot of difference if you get the right one. And I'm sorry if certain members of the council don't understand that this is not an exclusive kind of firm that does these things. That's her opinion. The bottom line is you get out in the real world and you find out they're all sorts. You have to look a little bit. Might take a little work. But the result for the town, for the taxpayer who's paying the bills for this town, can be huge. You want good people. And by the way, if it ain't broke, don't fix it, all right? Seems to me the fire company's doing a great job. I haven't heard Ty Johnson in here say, oh my God, we can't get anything done because I no sooner get to work than I have to leave and go fight a fire. So, I mean, it's nice to have the horse before the cart. It's not like the train industry where you can push from back. Let's hear it from the front. So I'm surprised we hadn't heard that right from the get-go. Hey, I'm burning out. I'm not burning as bright as I used to. I love it, but I can't do it anymore. All of a sudden now we're going to have another paid position, et cetera, et cetera. I'm not saying it's bad, but I'd like to have a little more nuts and bolts and not, oh, gee, he's cute. I think, he'd do fine. I really want to see resumes. And if this council can't do that, taxpayers, hang on to your wallets. That's my opinion.
Okay, anybody else like to speak on this topic?
Anne Marie Slavic, Lower Saucon Township. I would just like to say, as a concerned citizen of this township, that I would consider that it might be a good idea, it might not be a good idea, and everything else that Dave Boleyn just said about the person doing the job sounds great. But I would just be aware of when you meet people at conferences of why they were being promoted at that conference. You have to ask a lot of questions and you have to look into things. So in other words, if somebody's at a conference and they're the expert and they were put in that conference to talk to people that are at the conference, you have to wonder, maybe they did something, maybe they advertised, maybe they paid some money to get into the conference and they were their expert person there. So I would just urge you all to do some more research before you're spending money for the township, before you're getting involved in contracts, and remind you that we have lawsuits, according to the finance report, of $318,500 that are budgeted this year, I guess. And I'm sure there's going to be many more. That number will go up. But just be careful what you're doing. And also, just to remind you that the two other people on this council that are Republicans, they were also voted in by our voters, not just you. So just remember that.
Anybody else? Okay, roll call please.
Ms. DeLeon?
Yes.
Mr. Benonis?
No.
Ms. Alcoff Cordero?
Yes.
Ms. Ray?
Yes.
Motion passes 3-1. Mr. Carocci absent.
Okay, thank you, Kathy. Next, we have the zoning administrative clerk, stipend approval. The administration is requesting the stipend for the zoning administrative clerk until a zoning officer is appointed. Kathy, I'll take this over to you.
Yes, after reviewing the situation after our zoning officer had left and hiring a consulting firm to handle the gaps, it's become apparent that our zoning administrative clerk has taken on additional responsibilities in coordinating things and answering phone calls that typically the zoning officer would do. She's been very helpful for me, and I would like council to consider giving her the same increase as the administrative assistants that you previously approved, and that she would get a stipend of $192.31 per pay to continue doing what she's doing and helping the staff coordinate the zoning aspects of the township, and that would terminate once a zoning officer is fully appointed. And we received confirmation from the union that they are okay with that.
Okay, and that is your recommendation?
That is my recommendation.
Okay. With that, I'll make a motion to approve a stipend for the zoning administrative clerk until a zoning officer is appointed.
And before you have a second, would you consider amending your motion to, and have the appropriate person sign the memorandum of understanding drafted by the labor attorney to effectuate that change?
Okay, my motion is amended as stated by the solicitor. So, is there a second?
I'll second.
Okay, so we have a motion on the floor. And council discussion, Jason?
Yeah, can I get an answer from the solicitor as to whether or not he's reviewed the proposed memorandum of understanding and paperwork and whether it meets with his approval?
I've had the memorandum of understanding was drafted by Labor Council. I did have an opportunity to review it. It appears to address the issues with regard to the pay as outlined and so on.
All right, so well, I'm happy that we've had two lawyers take a look at this memorandum of understanding. My concern, and I certainly appreciate the added responsibilities that a number of township staff members have taken on. Considering this dumpster fire and revolving door of personnel that have been leaving the township, I think it's important to try to treat people fairly and compensate them for their work. So I'm certainly not against providing this added compensation to the zoning clerk. I just want to make sure that this doesn't set a precedent, particularly because she's a union employee. She's subject to that collective bargaining agreement that doesn't expose the township to jeopardy, particularly with other members that are subject to that same contract. Steve, can you confirm that that's not the concern going forward?
Paragraph 6 of the drafted memorandum of understanding says, open quote, "This memorandum of understanding shall have no precedential value except for enforcement purposes and has been signed by a representative of the association."
Okay. So you believe that that language is adequate to insulate the township from potential liability or exposure if another member of the union seeks to enforce some terms that are akin to what's already set forth in this memorandum of understanding?
I believe that paragraph speaks for itself as to what it is, and as I indicated, it's already been signed and approved by a member of the association, the vice president.
I understand what the words say, and I understand it speaks for itself. I'm asking for your legal opinion. We're paying you $180 an hour to provide us with a legal opinion to keep the township insulated from liability. We've done a fairly ineffective job with that. We've now been sued by the landfill. We've also been sued by Verizon, and I'm sure we're going to be sued elsewhere. So I want to make sure that this meets with your approval so that you can tell us that you believe that that insulates the township from potential liability if other members of this collective bargaining agreement seek to enforce similar terms, even though they're not parties to an understanding.
I'm not the labor attorney. I didn't draft it, but that's what paragraph 6 says.
Okay. Did you have any discussions with the labor attorney that you recommended to us about whether or not those concerns that I just raised have been adequately attended to and document it so that the township doesn't have any concerns going forward?
I did not specifically, but I did see an email where the question was brought up. And again, paragraph 6 indicates what it says.
Okay, can you share, and I'm not asking you to disclose attorney-client privilege things or anything like that, but can you share the email, like who it was from, what the subject was, what was discussed in it?
I don't have
whether or not there's any back and forth on it, were there negotiations pertaining to it? I think you're talking about an email, but I have no details on it.
Yeah, I'm not in a position to do that today.
Okay. I'm not sure what we're paying for then, but I guess we'll have to roll the dice and take a chance.
Okay, next is me. I'm in favor of this. I'd like to thank Molly because I know how difficult it must be for her with the zoning issues we're having in the township, and really appreciate her time. And yes, and I think this is due, so I support this. Victoria?
I just want to thank Molly for all of her cooperation as we move through the process, and her willingness and her ability to help us in this time of need, and I'm happy to help her, and I thank her.
Okay, Laura?
And I'm supportive of this as well. I'm glad that we can do something. I'm glad it was an available option.
Okay, thank you. Public comment, 5 minutes. Stay on topic. Who would like to go?
I also am happy Molly Bender got this stipend. I think that's worthwhile. When you do the work, you should get paid. On the other side of that coin, I find it very unsettling that our attorney will not say, yes, this meets my approval, this document, and refers to, well, it says what it says, and that's what it says. And when asked who the attorney was that prepared it and who we're relying on, MOU, Memorandum of Understanding, clearly we don't know who it is. Does he exist? Is this all just hearsay? And is that what happens if you go to court and you say to the judge, well, gee, I don't remember who it was or whatever, and therefore, we'll pay the bill. We talk about clarity every day, talk about transparency. This is anything but transparency. It is really, really the worst. I find it's incredible that you can't stand behind your own product. Well, I'll tell you, I'd be out the door in a flash if I made those kind of representations and said, well, somebody else told me this. That's just not, that's not acceptable. Well, it's not acceptable to me, and it's not acceptable to people I work with, but apparently it seems to be acceptable and getting to be more so from some council members here and the solicitor. Not the first time we've heard, well, I didn't write it, but yeah, it looks good. Looks good. I wonder how that holds up.
Okay, who wants to go next? Okay, may we have a roll call, please?
Mr. Benonis?
I certainly appreciate everything that Molly's done for the township. I think she's a fine person, and I appreciate her character and willingness to step up. I think she should be compensated for her additional duties that she's taken on, but I have concerns with the memorandum of understanding and the lack of clarity that we have from both our solicitor, who we're paying $180 an hour to, for a legal opinion as to whether or not this has any sort of precedential effect for other members of the collective bargaining agreement. And the fact that there was an email, which we don't know who it was from, what was discussed, what the subject was, that somehow that unknown email is supposed to provide reassurances to allow me to vote on this. I find that troubling, and I find it deeply troubling that it is the status of things. And I'd like to have clarity before making a vote that could subject the township to further exposure of other members of the collective bargaining agreement seek similar type of benefit from the township. I just think that's unfortunate, I think it puts Molly in a tough situation because he deserves to be compensated. But at the same time, I also have to look out for the township's interest, so in light of that, I'm gonna have to vote no.
Ms. Altough Cordero?
I vote yes, and I just want to say, my understanding is that this was reviewed by our labor attorney, who we contract with separately than our solicitor. Thank you.
Ms. Ray?
Yes.
Ms. DeLeon?
Yes.
Motion passes 3-1. Mr. Carocci, absent.
Thank you. Next, we have Lower Saucon Road Culvert authorization to end maintenance bond. The 18-month maintenance period for the Lower Saucon Road Culvert replacement project is due to expire on June 20th, 2024. That's tomorrow. The Director of Public Works and the Township Engineer had confirmed there were no outstanding issues with the project. So Kathy, would you like to finish?
Yes, the maintenance bond is set to expire. The bond amount was $61,818.72. Referenced project number LS 18-18. This was for the replacement of the Lower Saucon Road Bridge. In May, Hanover Engineering and the Director of Public Works went out to the site and identified some silt socks still there. They sent a memorandum, which was in your packet, for the contractor to come up and pick that up. They did. So that was the only issue that was outstanding, and all the inspection of the bridge is complete and final, and there were no issues.
So this is your recommendation then
To officially release the bond.
Okay. So I'll make a motion to approve the end of the maintenance bond period for the Lower Saucon Road Culvert Replacement Project and to release the bond
Second.
in an amount of $61,818.72. Is there a second?
Second.
Okay. Jason? Council discussion? Jason?
No.
Okay, Thompson here. Priscilla, supportive. Victoria?
I'm in support of this. Happy that it was done.
Laura?
Yes, no issues, this is great.
Okay. And please thank the road crew for everything that they've,
I will.
okay. Public comment, anybody out there would like to speak on this? Okay, none, so roll call please.
Ms. Altough Cordero?
Yes.
Ms. Ray?
Yes.
Ms. DeLeon?
Yes.
Mr. Bononis?
Yes.
Motion passes 4-0. Mr. Carocci, absent.
Okay, next we have Resolution 55-2024, Emergency Operations Plan. The Pennsylvania Emergency Management Services Code mandates that the township maintain the Emergency Operations Plan, or the EOP. Resolution 55-2024 has been prepared to adopt the EOP as revised. Kathy?
Yes, every 2 years, our goal is to update and bring to council a resolution to adopt the update of the EOP plan. I'm sure council is aware this is a living document that gets revised continuously because contact information is constantly updated due to transitions and resignations. So we have been working, Stacy has been working with Brian Evans and Roger Rossage and all the other individuals to make sure that our EOP is up to date. And
it's an enormous task.
It is an enormous task, and like I said, we work on it. We will be working on that diligently to make sure that everything is up to date and on time.
Okay, it's your recommendation then. Okay.
Yep.
So I'd like to make a motion to approve Resolution 55-2024 to adopt the EOP as revised. Would there be a second?
I'll second.
Okay, council discussion, Jason?
So the question I have is, if there's efforts underway to hire a full-time fire chief, what effect, if any, does this have on the EOP? Can anyone in the Fire Services Committee respond to that? Has anyone discussed with the mystery people that you talked with regard to creating a full-time paid fire chief, what the ramifications of this is or would be with regard to the EOP?
I'll just take a stab here from what
I'm sorry, did I break up? I didn't hear
Kathy
anybody.
just said. It's a living document that gets updated as needed, so I believe when that time comes, we would make updates to the plan as needed.
And that would be a
Can
question.
the EOP be updated mid-year? Because I know we typically review and approve the EOP in June. Is it something on an annual basis, or is it something that can be done as needed?
Mr. Evans is here to address that.
Hello, Brian Evans, Emergency Management Coordinator. The document can be updated at any point in time. It's, I believe, required by PEMA statute for biannual, to every I don't know, biannual, I always mess up. Every 2 years must be formally adopted by council, but again, we've tried to do a better job of keeping it updated in real time, which thanks to the township staff, specifically Stacy, has us in a much better position, which can be like herding cats at times, to be able to get that updated with contact information. Inventory is, there's lists in there about how many backhoes we have and things like that that constantly change. And the EOP and a paid fire official are really not, I wouldn't say they're not related, because obviously emergencies are covered under this, but that would not change anything as it relates to the specific plan, and certainly anything could be adopted to that. I actually think that the paid fire chief position would potentially significantly augment our emergency management program in Lower Saucon Township. As of right now, it's essentially me and the other emergency responders, whether it be through the police department, the volunteer fire department, or public works. And again, this is an appointed position for me that is in addition to a full-time job, full-time volunteering at the fire department, et cetera. Did that answer your question, Jason?
It does, Brian. I appreciate that very much.
You're welcome.
I certainly appreciate your efforts in serving as emergency management coordinator. You do a great job, and I'm glad that somebody in that room tonight has responsive information. I appreciate your comments.
And thank you, Brian, and thank you for all you do. Okay, and I'm supportive of this. Victoria?
Yeah, so supportive of it, and I'm glad it's a working document, and
Laura?
Yeah, I don't really have any additional comment.
Okay.
I'm glad it's being kept up to date.
Okay, so that's turning into public comment. Anybody in the audience wish to speak on this matter? Hearing none, can we have a roll call, please?
Ms. Wright?
Yes.
Ms. DeLeon?
Yes.
Mr. Benonis?
Yes.
Ms. Alcoff-Cordero?
yes.
Motion passes 4-0. Mr. Carocci absent.
Okay, thank you. Next, we have the request to authorize advertisement of bids for painting of Sidersville Hall. Staff is requesting council's approval to advertise the final stages of the work needed in Sidersville Hall. These expenses are covered under the Northampton/Lehigh Valley Gaming Grant that was previously awarded by the Commonwealth Finance Authority. The other work identified covered under this grant has been completed. So, did you have anything else to add, Kathy?
No, this bid document was revised to just include the painting and wall restoration, and ceiling tile replacement is needed. Council had approved the electrical work, which was done, and the other features that were included in that grant, we've completed them already, so this will finalize it. The grant application was submitted a couple of years ago. We've got extensions permitted by the grant administrators. So this is the final component, and hopefully we can close this grant out. The amount of the award was, I believe, close to $76,000.
Okay, I'd like to make a motion to advertise the final stages of the work needed for to paint Sidersville Hall.
A second.
Okay. Okay, so it's been moved and seconded. Council discussion, Jason?
No comments.
Tom's not here. Priscilla's supportive. Victoria?
I'm supportive. I'm glad that we can continue to maintain this important facility.
Okay, Laura?
Yeah, it's a very well-used building, very well-worn, so it's good to see that it's getting a little TLC that it needs.
Okay, public comment. Anybody like to speak on this topic? Roll call, please.
Ms. Delia,
Yes.
Mr. Benonis,
I'm sorry, you broke up there for a second. Did you call my name?
yes, I did.
Yes.
Ms. Altough Cordero,
Yes.
Ms. Ray.
Yes.
Motion passes 4-0. Mr. Carocci absent.
Okay, next we have BT Stonewood-Long Ridge Development Road Improvement Agreement Approval. BT Stonewood Long Ridge executed an assumption agreement in 2021 for the road improvement fees associated with the development. Excuse me. The attached new agreement is to arrange for payment of the fees due to township. The first payment in the amount of $10,000 has been received. Kathy?
Yes, this is a land development that's been in process for quite some time. The original land developer was required to pay a fee for each lot in the amount of $4,063. The transition of the land development agreement occurred back in 2021, as I said. That land developer was not paying that fee, so before the development was finished and the last permits were issued, I was working with Attorney Gutouzian and drafting this new agreement to ensure that we're getting the road improvement fees that we're entitled to under this subdivision land development.
Good job. Okay, so with that, I'll make a motion to approve the new agreement dated June 12th, 2024. Would there be a second?
Second.
Okay, Jason. Council discussion, Jason?
No discussion.
Okay, I have no discussion either. Victoria?
None.
Laura?
I have no comment on this.
You do or don't?
No, no comment.
Public comment from the audience. Anybody here like to speak on this? Okay, seeing none, hearing none. Roll call, please.
Mr. Benonis,
Yes.
Ms. Altough Cordero,
Yes.
Ms. Ray,
Yes.
Ms. Delia.
Yes.
Motion passes 4-0. Mr. Carocci absent.
Okay, EAC is requesting municipal funding for a tire recycling program. EAC would like to hold this in the fall of 2024. They are also requesting modest funding to be used as an incentive for residents. Laura, I'll turn this over to you.
Sure. And I see Kathy's still here if I mess something up. This was brought to EAC as a possible idea by Kathy Pitchen-McGovern. We all thought it was a great idea. I don't recall the township ever offering this service. I know Springfield Township did it at one point years back. So this is a tire recycling program where this business comes in and brings their truck. They collect tires. The residents pay a fee per tire. There's different amounts. I don't have the chart, but depending on whether it's a huge giant like tractor trailer tire versus a small one that goes on a mower or a regular car tire, and if it has a rim or not a rim. So there's all different prices involved. We don't have a date set yet. We're looking probably for something later in the fall, maybe when it's not so hot and we can squeeze it in our schedule because we have a lot of EAC projects going on. And we're asking for an amount of $150 to go towards this. And what we're thinking is we would make vouchers like $53 vouchers that would cover the cost of a single tire without a rim, I believe, that we could distribute to our residents in the township. We have to develop a way of how we would be able to do that so it's fairly distributed, so not one person comes in and takes 20 vouchers, so it would be, spread out. We are also asking and have invited Hellertown Borough to partner in on this event as well. If they choose to participate, they could also do their own incentive program with their own vouchers. So if, our vouchers would only go to Lower Saucon residents, Hellertown's would go to their residents. I believe the company provides all the help needed, so we wouldn't need like public works guys loading trucks or anything like that. We would just have EAC volunteers to direct traffic and such. So that's what this is all about.
Okay, I think it's a great idea. And would you like to make the motion?
I'll further comment too. We'd like to, I know there was a recent event where there was tires dumped at the side of the road that the police are looking into. So hopefully this can help prevent things like that from happening. So I will make a motion to approve this tire recycling program and the request for $150 for EAC to use for voucher incentives.
Okay, I'll second that. Any other discussion, Jason?
Yeah, I just have a question as to whether or not there's a pervasive problem with tires being abandoned in the township. It sounds to me, based upon Laura's comment, there's a single instance. I'm wondering if the police investigation of that identified the person who dumped those tires as a Lower Saucon resident taxpayer who would be subject to this program. It sounds to me like they don't know who did that. And it sounds like another EAC initiative that's a solution trying to find a problem. If EAC can be applying for grant money to do certain things or funding from the township to do certain things, I'd like some more data as to what the users for this.
Okay, I support the incentive of Victoria.
Thanks to EAC for their work and trying to improve the community. I'm supportive of it.
Okay, Laura? You're supportive?
Yes, I
Okay,
am
turn it over to public comment. Anyone in the audience like to speak on this issue, please come forward, state your name, and stay on topic.
My name is Kathy Mitchell-McGovern, and I just wanted to publicly thank Kathy Gorman. She's been so patient with me trying to figure this out and guiding me through the process so we can make it a reoccurring theme. So Kathy, I really appreciate your patience and your professionalism. It was very helpful. Thank you.
Thanks. Okay, anyone else?
Anne-Marie Slavic, Lower Saucon Township. I know you're not allowed to answer, but you said you're going to charge. Are you charging people for this? Or are we paying it? The township paying for people? I was confused by that.
The company, I will clarify.
Like something like that.
The company charges a fee when you
Yes.
bring your tires here and take it, so they charge a fee?
Yes, they do.
Yes.
Yeah, so just so you all know, there are local places, like one in Hellertown, one in on Lehigh Street in Allentown, that they take tires for like $3.25 each. So I don't know, though I know obviously you want to promote that people recycle, but there are places that do it. You don't need to throw the tires on the road.
Anybody else?
Russ Sutton, I'm part of the EAC. We're trying to beautify our township. Anybody can get rid of a tire at a gas station, but this is to help stimulate people to recycle. So it's a good project, and I think it really warrants the $155. It's not like a fortune. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else?
Could Mr. Sutton clarify where there's a problem with tires in the township? Because this is the first I'm hearing about this.
I didn't hear what you said, Jason.
Yeah, my question again is, you said that this is to beautify the township, and I'm not aware of a pervasive problem of tires being dumped or stored throughout the township that create problems for township residents, whether it's health or safety issues or unsightliness or whatever. So if that's an issue, this is the first that I'm hearing about it.
It is an issue. I think you need to drive around a bit. You'll see a lot of abandoned tires along the roadways. Even going up towards Applewater Road, you'll see a lot of abandoned tires. A lot of people have them in their yards. It is a problem, and it's getting worse. So we're trying to do a community service. I don't know if you have a problem with that, but that's your problem.
Well, no, sir, you don't have to be antagonistic towards me. I'm just trying to understand where the problem is, because I have not seen tires laying around, and if that's an issue, this is news to me. So you talk about Applewater Road. Applewater Road is also part of the city of Bethlehem. So are those tires in Bethlehem, or are they more somewhere else?
On Riverside Drive, there's abandoned tires if you ever drive around. I think you need to drive around other than your neighborhood, and then you could see what other people have to look at.
Oh, rest assured, sir, I do drive around the township, all parts of the township. So don't concern yourself with that.
Okay, next, state your name for the record and stay on topic, please.
Mark Ozemek, Reddington Road. And yes, there's a problem with tires. There's a problem with tires on Reddington Road. I think one or two more strays just showed up this week. So, I can attest to that. Whether you want to believe me or not, that's on you. But years ago, and it's been a couple of years ago, one of the businesses in the township or Steel City somewhere closed up, and the guy took about 20 tires and dumped them all over Reddington Road. So, probably shouldn't admit this, but I will. The only way I got rid of them tires was I took all them tires and made two big piles right in the middle of the yellow line. And if I'm not mistaken, I believe it's a school district that came and cleaned them up, because it was at the bus stop, you know, where he so conveniently dumped the tires. So, get out of your own little world and travel around and pay attention to what's going on.
Okay, anybody else like to comment on this agenda item? Oh, I'm sorry, I thought you were finished.
No,
Okay, I'm sorry.
I have, the way this voucher thing works, you're asking for $155, I believe it was. 150. So then what happens? Resident comes in.
We didn't come up with all the details yet. Yeah, it would be something, the township would distribute them somehow.
Yeah. Because I was concerned with the amount of money that it takes to get rid of the tire if somebody's going to come in and collect it. The tires, you know, if somebody's going to drive in a truck and pick tires up and charge you $10, the average person that takes care of his car and gets tires changed will just pay the $2 to have the tire company get rid of their tires when they get new tires on the car, you know, like me and you would do. But as far as, I was just confused on some of the prices. I'd be interested in seeing the price list though. Good luck.
Okay, next, anybody else like to come up?
Larry Hoptoff, Reddington Road. Yes, I see tires along Reddington Road and Riverside Drive quite often, particularly where the motorcycle hill climb is in that area. People throw the tires there. I just don't know if this thing's going to fix it, because sometimes I wonder whether it's some commercial guy who changed his tires and he has a whole bunch of them and he goes down, drives along by the hill climb there and just throws them all out and then keeps on going and saves himself a bunch of money rather than recycle them. There used to be a recycling plant for tires on Island Park Road in Glendon. However, they went out of business. So I don't know how to get rid of them now, but I'm curious how this program is going to help us. I I think there's ought to be illegal activity going on with these tires.
Okay, thank you. Anyone else like to speak on this issue?
Dave Boulan. Sounds like it's a police action to me. You could probably have these tire sales all day, and if you have people that break the law and dump tires, that's atrocious, and the police have to work on that. So it sounds to me like maybe President of the Council here should be talking to the Chief of Police and saying, we've got a runaway situation. And yes, by the way, I did hear about that. I think it was apple butter where somebody dumped a lot of tires. So I don't know what's going on in that area. It seems to be the area where, you know, where things get put. So number one, police action. Number two, you can't get them, put in some cameras, all right? Number three, you go to any of these big tire stores, STS, Mavis, any of them, you buy tires there, you buy 4, you get your junk tires, they take care of them, no extra cost, okay? If you want to, we're talking car tires here, if you want to, simply pay $250 to $350 per tire at any of the big stores, or even this, got plenty of time, Priscilla. Thank you. I know, I believe me, I get the nuances here. The bottom line is you, go ahead, you want to talk, I'll stop. All right, bottom line is you, as a citizen, have an obligation not to dump your junk in other people's property. And I have to agree with Mark here, Mark. All right, he's absolutely right. That shouldn't happen. And he shouldn't have to go out there and pile them up and dump them. No, that should be reported to the police and taken care of. All right, so that's the point. Now, as far as this half-baked presentation we don't have any kinds of charts or things because they haven't gotten there. How are you gonna vote on any allocation of money? Maybe too much, way too little, who knows? When it comes to tires, if I'm getting rid of a big farm tractor tire, some of the people here in this area have nice big farms where they raise these big 4-legged things, and they have tractors and balers and all that. Are we talking about those being $2 or $3? No, they're huge. Gee, let's just bring in a earth mover tire and see what that costs. Is there any limit to this, what the people can bring? Have you thought about putting anything together in one skull so people can understand what they can bring, how many they can bring, etc., etc.? All right? Let's again see the data, see the projections, and understand really whether it's worthy or not. My goodness, you're getting paid all this money, you got all these people on these committees and all, and yet we don't have anything in front of us here. Come on. That's like me asking you, hey, would you give me $1,000? I have some fun ideas, okay? What else? Tire dumping absolutely ought to be stopped by the police. That's not acceptable. Hellertown, by the way, I was over there, did stop in, and there's a fellow there who's been there for a long time. He says, yeah, Hellertown, we dump a lot of tires in our roads. I don't know what got him to say that. And as a matter of fact, it's free if you get 4 tires from him or 1 tire, he'll take them back. You bring him in, now he's not interested. He's not there to clean up other people's messes. So that was clearly stated to me when I was talking to him about a month ago. Bottom line is that you need to understand how big these tires are going to be and how many, and who is this company that's going to do it, and what are they going to do with all these tires? And are we going to just do this every year when people can just take their tires down and get rid of them, which they should?
You have 30 seconds.
Thank you. No, it goes way past that. You need to think about why you're asking for money and really justify it, not just say, gee, I'd like to have, okay? Thank you.
Anybody else like to come up and speak?
Hi, this is Russ Sutton. I can't comprehend how a simple subject about collecting tires.
Why are you speaking again? I haven't had an opportunity to speak on the topic.
I think that's right. We can't have more than, we can't go
Oh,
back.
I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I had forgotten. You already spoke on this
I'm
topic?
not even there and I'm practically running the meeting.
Oh, Jason, stop it. I'm sorry, Russ. Okay, anybody else like to speak? Okay, we only have like 30 things on the agenda. Okay, so, anybody else? Well, I guess we have a motion, Kathy, roll call.
Ms. Southworth Cordero,
Yes.
Ms. Ray,
Yes.
Ms. DeLeon,
Yes.
Mr. Benonis.
No, there's no justification for this.
Motion passes 3-1, Mr. Carocci absent.
Okay, next on the agenda is EAC, request for letter of support for Lehigh Valley Planning Commission, grant submission to EPA's Climate Pollution Reduction Grants Program implementation. EAC is requesting council to submit a letter of support for the Lehigh Valley Planning Commission's grant application to the EPA's Climate Pollution Reduction Grant Program. Laura?
Sure, so this is kind of clear cut and it kind of ties into what the Representative Mackenzie, who was here earlier, had suggested. When people are applying for grants, it's very helpful to them to have letters of support, so that is what we are recommending. I know the Planning Commission application for this grant was included in the packet, so it's quite lengthy. The grant in general is to make improvements along major roadways in the Lehigh Valley, including things like making low-mow areas, adding trees, doing LED lighting. Among the benefits are to help improve air quality, noise reduction, better stormwater management. Overall, it's a $115 million budgeted project. The EAC voted and approved to do their own letter of support for the grant, but we also made a motion to ask council to, as a township board, make a letter also to support the grant application. So I will make the motion to approve sending a letter of support from council, Lower Saucon.
I'll second that.
Okay. Any other discussion? Jason?
Yeah, I have a question. How does EAC intend to use any money that's provided through this grant?
I don't know if I heard your question. Was it
It's
about?
a letter of support, there's no grant, Lower Saucon isn't asking for money or EAC, it's we're supporting LVPC in their application for a grant to improve areas.
Right, I understand that, but my question is, does EAC have an expectation that any monies that are received by LVPC are going to trickle back to EAC in Lower Saucon Township?
No, it's for the plan that LVPC is doing in the Lehigh Valley. It's not for the EAC.
And as you explained it, Laura, LVPC's plan is to make improvements along roadways to reduce air pollution and water pollution. Is that correct?
Those are some of the benefits they quoted, yes.
And what else do they intend to use that money for?
Well, it's a pretty lengthy report, like I said, so it's around interchanges, there's low-mow areas they'd like to have put in, add trees in different areas, to add to quieting, different lighting, LED lighting. So
Okay, anything else other than LED lights and planting trees?
read the report is all I can say. It's quite lengthy, so.
Well, you're the member of EAC, right?
Correct, and we're just asking to have a letter of support to support their grant application. Very simple request.
Well, I'll be honest, I have concerns about LVPC. I mean, LVPC previously meddled in Lower Saucon affairs with regard to the rezoning and the landfill expansion. So I'm unclear as to whether or not this grant money will be used and weaponized against Lower Saucon Township. Can you answer that? I think provided any guarantees that they would not be using the money in any way that's adverse to Lower Saucon Township taxpayer interest.
I do not see any adverse work towards Lower Saucon in their grant application.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, Tom's not here. I support the letter of support. Victoria?
Yeah, I support it. If I can just add that, I think it was the Council of Governors or Governance that I just recently attended, and this is where they unveiled the report, and we're one municipality that's a member, and there are multiple municipalities in Lehigh and Northampton County, and so LVPC is asking all municipalities that are a part of the LVPC to support them in achieving this. I think the public can take a look at the pictures, and I think the pictures are very telling to me. I mean, of course, they're showing what it could look like if they receive the grant money and they're able to do what they want to do, but it would drastically change what you see when you drive along major interchanges very close to Lower Saucon. And if it helps reduce sound and pollution and helps clean the air in the meantime, I'm in favor of it and I would support that, and LVPC has requested that we do that.
Hey, Laura, did you have any additional?
I don't have anything additional.
Okay, public comment. Anyone out there like to speak on this? Please stay on topic.
Kathy Pitchell-McGovern. Just very quickly, in the opening paragraph of their proposal, it talks about the enormous growth that the Lehigh Valley has had in Northampton County. And it really talks about the truck traffic more than anything else. And this is trying to offset some of the issues with truck traffic, trying to have better air quality, trying to have better stormwater management, things along those lines. But it starts with the growth that we've had that we haven't really been able to prepare for in advance. So as a member of the EAC, I would ask Lower Saucon Township to please send a letter of support.
Okay, thank you. Anyone else like to speak on this subject?
Dave Luan. Yeah, this is my favorite. I gotta love this. Lehigh Valley planning. You know what, if they had done the planning right, we wouldn't have the truck traffic we have now, the endless traffic jams. Yeah, and as a matter of fact, thank gosh we have our fire company who is up on 78 every day, multiple times a day, with endless accidents because we have the Lehigh Valley Planning Commission who hasn't widened the roads, hasn't taken care of all the things they need to. Now we're going to plant flowers around the roads. I want to tell you, for anybody that drives the roads, and I don't care whether it's 222, 22, on ad nauseum, all those little circles where they're showing, oh, they show pretty pictures. They're so nice. Gee, I think I have them here somewhere. Oh, I do. Yeah. And the bottom line is, and look at these cards and these flowers. Guess what? PennDOT's already claimed those. They use them. That's where they put their equipment and everything else. So this is a farce right to start with. They're leading us right down the path. And as a matter of fact, anything that blocks the view, as you see on their opening page of their 42-page report, yes, Laura Ray, I did read it. I hope all of you did, because you all seem to like it. Well, you need to read it, right? We're talking about millions of dollars these people go through, and what do we have? Just as the previous person said, we have all this truck traffic, we have all this smog, we have all these warehouses. And what has the Lehigh Valley Planning Commission done? Oh, we have a solution for it. We're going to put in some flowers and some trees. Please, please. I know we all want to support good green stuff. Yeah, I have a place that I built when I was young, no trees. Now it has hundreds of trees, so yes, I'm in favor of it. I'm not in favor of a bunch of bureaucrats making a mess of things and then saying, oh, we're going to plant some flowers and the air is going to be crystal clear. That's not realistic. And you people need to ask these questions and just say, oh, I met this person at PSAT and it's just so, it's gonna be just so good.
Topic.
That is on topic because it's real. What it says very simply is don't be rude, ruled by your emotions, do the numbers. We don't send people into space by going, oh, we just throw them up there. Well, it's the same thing here. You gotta get real. This is real money, and people are starting to hurt because the other people are saying, oh, it's going to be okay. Well, it's been 4 years, it's not. And this is no different. I would ask you to vote against it unless you truly believe that it's going to really, have we any proof from the EAC that this works? And where are all the trees for all the years we should have been planting everywhere, and we don't? And now here it's butterflies and whatever.
Anyone else like to speak?
Anne-Marie Slavic, Lower Saucon Township. I would be very concerned as well about the Planning Commission. I would be beware of them. I would also say that a 40-page report about planting trees and whatever else they wrote in there, that someone has to justify their job. Due to the Lehigh Valley Planning Commission and the LVEDC, we have the environment that we have in the Lehigh Valley. And that means that's why it takes 3 weeks to get a doctor's appointment. That's why we have trucks everywhere. That's why we have horrible traffic, and that's why our insurance is going up. And nobody seems to, there's no solution for that because everybody moved in, the trucks moved in, and the warehouses were built. And I didn't hear the Lehigh Valley Planning Commission have a problem with the warehouses. Did you?
Yeah.
Oh, did they? Oh, all right. Well, I think they're friends with the LVEDC, and they don't have any problems with them.
Comments to the chair, please.
Anyway, one more thing. The planting of the trees that was going to be done on the landfill land, you guys didn't seem to like that at all, which it's just inconsistent. I like trees.
Anybody else like to come and comment? Okay, may we have a roll call, please?
Ms. Drag?
Yes.
Ms. DeLeon?
Yes.
Mr. Bedonas?
Now, I don't trust LVPC, and this is lipstick on a pig. They created the pigsty, and they're just trying to gloss over the problems that they've created. There's more meaningful things that they can do to make changes, and they need to fix it in a grander way.
Ms. Zappa-Cordero?
I vote yes, but I just want to clarify because there's a number of comments by the public about what LVPC can and can't do, and I just want to advise the public that LVPC is an advisory commission. So in each municipality, when there's a development project that comes forward, there's a requirement that LVPC review that project and provide professional review and comments and recommendations, but they don't have any authority to approve or deny a warehouse project or a development project in any of the municipalities that they support. So they are a supportive commission that has paid experts that help advise municipalities on how to best plan, but they cannot control development. But I'm in approval of doing the letter. Thank you.
That's a very good point that you bring up, because many times when people have come forward and we should bend it to me, to the oracle of LVPC, but they really are just an advisory board. And I've been saying that when they meddled in Lower Saucon affairs before. I'm glad that you acknowledge that they're simply an advisory board with no authority whatsoever.
Motion passes 3-1. Mr. Carocci absent.
Okay, thank you, Kathy. Okay, next we have miscellaneous business items, approval of the May 2024 financial reports, and I have a question for Kathy because I know you can find this at your fingertips. Someone made a comment about the legal fees, 300 and something. Could you find that? And could you tell me what it was at the beginning of the year? And what it is today? Okay. And then circle it so I know where to find it.
Law is stipulated that we budgeted $318,500. We spent for the month $14,467.
and year-to-date, $114,854.78, which is 36.06% of what was budgeted.
Right, so how do we find out the beginning of when last year ended? I know there was like wasn't there like 300?
I can provide that information.
Not right now.
Not right now.
Okay, would you do that,
I'll have to go
please?
through last year's budget.
At your convenience, I know you're busy. Okay.
I'll get that information out.
Okay, thank you. With that, does anybody have any questions on the financial report? Not, I'll make a motion to approve May 2024 financial report. Is there a second?
I'll second that.
Laura? Okay, council discussion, Jason?
No discussion.
I have no discussion. Victoria?
None.
Laura?
No.
Public? Anybody in the audience have anything to comment on the financial reports?
I have a great comment. You're a superstar, Kathy. I'm Dave Boulan, I'm sorry. Oh my gosh. You're a superstar. You know, you post these things and I read them. And you know, it's probably the most illuminating thing that one can have in a government, a household, wherever. And that is where your money comes from and where it goes. And you do a superlative job.
Yes, she does.
And the bottom line is, I'll be looking at more of these. Yeah, I have some questions, but I'm not sure. Yeah, I see, and I really didn't hear, Priscilla, please, when you're in the microphone or you're talking to Mr. Gaduzian, or don't go like this, I can't hear. All right, so if you'd asked the question, then I would have heard, so I'm gonna bring it back up because I also scan the numbers, and I think probably like most people, you tend to look for the big ones and then try to understand what those are and go backwards. All right, I mean, clearly I see things like, and that's the other thing, being a newbie here, it's a little hard for me to understand. For instance, I look and I see compared to budgetary summary. I know that's right in your lock there, but I see things like how much the landfill pays. Whoa, wow, sanitation landfill hosting. Look at those numbers, they're in the millions of dollars, 1.2. I see 2.03. And we treat them like the dump. That's a big mistake. Now, I go down here and I'm coming down that page. After that, I see some expenses here, like law, and that's why I asked you if you'd speak up a little bit, because I see that's jumped up already. There's a $14,000 bill this month alone, and it's the month of 6, that's June, okay? And I see year-to-date is 114. I guess I'd ask, if we're going at this rate and what we budgeted was 318, gee, you'll have to be a rocket scientist to figure out we're gonna run out really quick. So I would be asking whoever the law people are, I can't name them. There's a guy here that starts with an H, but he doesn't take much money. The other guy just seems to take the lion's share. How high are we gonna go on this? And should we budget for that? Can you people re-budget? I guess you probably can. So the question of where's this money gonna go? You know, we're just touching the surface here. So that's certainly one. I see the library, all the smoke flies here and the smoke flies there, but the bottom line is we've already paid $9,900 with another $2,500 coming out. So I guess we're gonna do something with Hal, which, by the way, at the end I'm gonna ask for some reports on things that we haven't seen hide nor hair of. All right, conservation, that looks budgeted and fairly reasonable. You all talked about that at the last meeting. I see all sorts of great numbers. I got a few more minute here. Conservation. Okay, operating grants. it go. I guess that'll be Kathy on a separate day when she has nothing to do, which could be compost center funds, is that incoming or outgoing dollars?
50 seconds left.
Pardon?
50 seconds left.
Oh, 50? Okay. Can you answer that for me, Kathy? I'm sorry you got interrupted. I can read a clock.
Compost center funds and expenses?
No, I didn't say that. I said compost center funds, is that a positive or negative number? So why are we spending, or why is it 29,000? Balance sheet.
Oh.
Sorry, page 1 of 9.
The compost center funds of $29,000 is funds that was contributed by both Lower Saucon and Hellertown when we were under our old agreement. So that money is in legal status at the moment.
Legal status?
Until everything is resolved and there's a conclusion.
Wow.
So nobody, if that money has.
So we'll have to ask that. I'll just put that on Mr. Gaduzian's schedule. I'll be asking about that. Thank you. And thank you for the great work. 10 seconds, 9. Really is great. And I look forward to going through the previous ones and comparing with previous years. Thank you.
Okay, anybody else like to speak on this agenda item? Okay, if not, can we have a roll call, please, Kathy?
Ms. Delion.
Yes.
Mr. Bernardus.
Kathy, I have a question to follow up on what Mr. Belanger brought up. He brought up a figure, I think he said $99,000 from the library.
Yes.
And I expect that a big part of that number is what was, I guess, originally identified as a payment of invoices by council in an executive session that wasn't voted on publicly. And then later on, they realized that there were no invoices that were due, so then they made a gift to the Hellertown Library. And if I recall, the amount of that gift was like $97,000, is that correct?
I believe it was a little under 96 something.
So the amount is 96 something, and the amount that's actually been paid so far is 99 something?
Or maybe it was 97, I'm sorry. We have spent $1,300 year to date on reimbursing under the library program.
That was my question.
So we've spent $1,300 so far.
And that's based upon individuals who have come, or family members that have come to the township seeking reimbursement for either an individual or family membership to the library.
Yes.
$1,300 total.
Yes. 35 requests.
Okay. And this is the same library that sought to extort Lower Saucon Township of $750,000 or so, based upon a contract that they ran down our throats at the last minute, that signed it or else. And then they embarked on their political campaign with signs everywhere. And the grand total of money that they're getting in from individuals is from reimbursement from Lower Saucon is $1,300. That's a real small number compared to $750,000. And I can see why they're so pissed off. Thank you, Kathy.
You're welcome. And your vote would be?
My vote is no.
Okay. Ms. Cordero?
This is approving the financial report?
Yes.
Yes.
Ms. Red?
Yes.
Motion passes 3-1. Mr. Carocci absent.
Okay, next we have approval of the April 3rd, 2024 council minutes. Were previously tabled and have been reviewed and are ready for council's review and approval. So does anybody have any changes or comments? No, I'll make a motion.
Yeah, I did have an opportunity to take a look at the attempts to correct or assure that we covered everything. For the April 3rd meeting, it shows like for the first part, this is the attachment that was prepared by the staff to kind of identify the sections that were called into question. It talks about page 12, lines 26 to 31 at minute 57 to minute 57 and 31 second. The review identified by crossing out the fact that there was multiple speakers speaking, myself and Mr. Carocci at the same time. And I listened to that today, and there were multiple people speaking at the same time, so I think for the page 12, line 26 to 31, I'm comfortable with the original and sticking with the way it was drafted versus the review. So I would make a motion to approve April 3rd, 2024 minutes with keeping with the original minutes for page 12, lines 26 to 31, starting at minute 57. I'm comfortable with the changes that were provided for page 12, lines 33 through 39, and the additions for page 14, line 21. So that's my motion.
So if I'm understanding this motion, you're not making it with the corrections, you're making it with the original?
So my motion would be to accept them, subject to sticking with the original version for page 12, lines 26 to 31, and adopting the revisions for page 12, lines 33 through 39, and page 14, line 21.
Okay, so it's split.
Yes.
Okay, yeah, I got it now. Yes. Okay, I'll second that. Questions, Jason?
The minutes have errors in it, or in them, I should say. And I would just point out that this is the council meeting where you had your secret executive session, allegedly, where discussions were made with regard to the landfill, and that never took place. And then you never discussed anything out in the public forum with regard to what was discussed during the executive session. So, again, there are multiple problems here in terms of the content of the minutes, and there's certain problems with what took place in that meeting. And I would just direct the public's attention to the lawsuit that the landfill filed against Lower Saucon Township for violations of the Sunshine Act, for a declaratory judgment to prevent Victoria Ossoff from casting a vote because of her conflict of interest and other things. And I would also point out that the landfill has sued the township for over $1.1 million as a result of those misdeeds that took place at that meeting.
Okay, I have no comment. Victoria?
I don't know, but I'm not sure. I made a motion, and I think you went right into discussion. I don't know if anybody seconded the motion.
Right, there was Priscilla seconded.
Oh, okay, never mind. I already said what I said.
Okay, Laura?
Yeah, I agree with the changes that Victoria's suggested, especially to put that first section back, because to me it didn't make any sense to cross out the part where it said multiple people were talking and you couldn't tell what was being said, because that was true. So.
Okay, public comment. Anyone out there have any comments regarding this item?
Oh.
Okay, can we have a roll call, please, Kathy?
Mr. Benonis?
No.
Ms. Alcantara?
Yes.
Ms. Ray?
Yes.
Ms. Delian?
Yes.
Motion passes 3-1.
Okay, next.
Mr. Carocci absent.
Next, we have approval of the April 17, 2024 council minutes. Were previously tabled and have been reviewed and are ready for council's review and approval. Comments, anybody?
I would make a motion to approve the minutes subject to the reviews provided with the exception for page 7, lines 35 through 35, sorry, 35 through 55. I would make the motion to keep what's highlighted in yellow as an added thing, but again, there were portions where it indicated multiple people were speaking at the same time, and it's like crossed out, so they want to remove that. I would make the motion to keep what's been crossed out and add what's highlighted in yellow. That's my motion.
I'll second. Council discussion, Jason?
Yeah, just for the public's edification, this is where the cover-up tried to happen. This is when you tried to put the genie back in the bottle, the toothpaste back in the tube for the illegal act that took place on April 3rd. There are errors in the minutes, and again, council has been sued, and this is part of what is the basis for the lawsuit, is that what took place on April 3rd was illegal, and what took place on April 17th was an attempt to cover up that illegality.
Okay, I have no problems with the motion. Victoria?
I already made the motion, I'm good.
Laura?
Yeah, no comment.
Okay, public comment regarding those minutes?
My name is Mary Ann Garber and I represent the Bethlehem landfill, and I had sent an email to Kathy a couple of days ago with 3 corrections to my remarks under item number 7, public comment, non-agenda items.
This is for April 17th.
Correct. Kathy, I don't know if you have my email. Do you want me to go through the requested changes?
I did forward them to Stacy, but if you could, that would be
Okay.
just so they're in the minutes.
Yeah, I wasn't aware, just so you know, I had no idea what the corrections were.
Okay, yeah, I sent the email to Kathy, so I'm happy to go through them now.
Thank you.
On page, well, my page numbers are cut off on this copy. I think it's page 42 of 47 in line number 38. The word "and" should be replaced with the word "in." On line 46, the word "undo," U-N-D-U-E, should be replaced with the word "undo," spelled U-N-D-O. And on page 43 of 47, line 22, the word "council," C-O-U-N-C-I-L, should be counsel, like legal counsel, C-O-U-N-S-E-L. Thank you.
Okay, thank you for bringing that to our attention. Okay,
I would amend my motion to include the corrections identified by Ms. Barger.
right, and I will amend my second. Okay, anybody else in the audience like to comment?
Dave Boulan. You know, it's really wonderful to be able to sit here in the audience, and I can tell you, I see the picture up there that says draft on it, but I'll tell you, if I could pick out from an eye chart any of those words, it would be unbelievably difficult. And I would challenge any of you sitting up on that dais to do the same. So either bring it into focus or just get rid of it. So, right? You agree with that?
I can see it, it's not blurry to me.
Huh?
It's not blurry to me, but at a distance it may be.
Yeah,
I mean,
well, you
I'm
can come
sitting
out
right
here and join us in the, you know, us little folks.
I should be sitting up here.
Yeah. Well, you have it in front of you on your computer, so you can't go wrong. I mean, even reading the line numbers, it's sort of ridiculous. I think it would be most helpful, for instance, trying to follow our Dr. Codera here. You know, she's not sure which line or what this or that, and she wants to change it and add this and that. Trying to follow that, I don't know whether it's by design or not, but if you're going to be that complicated and you're going to make these motions and you know you're going to make them, maybe it'd really be neat if you put them in the agenda as an attachment. Hello? You look perplexed, okay? Do you know what I mean? So we could look at them, understand them, figure out what she's trying to say, and either agree or not agree so we can speak to it. But instead we get blah, 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 and have no idea what that is. All right? And as Mr. Bononis said, this is important. All right, and I'm surprised that the attorney for the landfill hasn't made some of the same comments, although some of these doesn't matter. Nobody cares about flowers and what color they are. So I'd ask that, all right? Is that too difficult? I know you put this thing together on Friday afternoons, and sometimes they come out before close of business, sometimes not. But that would be an addition. I'd like to think you all have had these minutes for a long time and clearly could read them, make your changes so we can see them, we the public, okay? Yeah, I read the whole thing. Lots of mistakes in terms of spellings and yada, yada, yada. That's not what I'm interested in. It's what the speaker said or didn't say. And we're just not being shown that. We'll see it in the final.
Okay, anybody else? Okay, hearing, seeing none, may we have a roll call, please?
Ms. Cordero?
Yes, and just a point of clarification, in the agenda that was published on Friday for the minutes for April 3rd and April 17th, what was included was not only the original draft, but also a special memo created by their staff, which identifies the areas that they were looking at to provide revisions. And my motions were related to exactly what was provided in the agenda on Friday. So I vote yes, thank you.
Ms. Ray?
Yes.
Ms. Delian?
Yes.
Mr. Benonis?
No.
Motion passes 3-1. Mr. Carocci absent.
Okay, thank you, Kathy. Next, we have council and staff reports. The acting township manager, Kathy Corman. Did you have a report?
I do. I wanted to bring to council's attention at the last EAC meeting, a presentation was provided by a guest speaker from the Pennsylvania DEP Office of Environmental Justice. At that meeting, inquiries and discussions were made regarding the Bethlehem landfill. We received correspondence in reference to statements made at the meeting on Mr. Douglas's behalf. He wishes to clarify by stating the following. While the capped project failed to completely mitigate the gas odors emanating from the southeast corner of the landfill, after the completion of the project, DEP staff and the host municipal inspector did notice some improvement. Bethlehem Landfill's response to the notice of violation regarding odors from the area always included a two-step process to resolve the problem. Step 1 was to utilize geosynthetic materials to cap the area. Step 2 was to install additional gas collection in the area. Bethlehem Landfill is currently in the process of completing Step 2 by installing 12 vertical gas collection wells in the newly capped area. I also wanted to relay that the Bethlehem Landfill's fall cleanup schedule will be scheduled for October 5th. We will continue to make that public announcement so people have are duly noted and average and being promoted as a benefit for the township residents. I also wanted to advise that EAC reinstituted their open space subcommittee based on the council's decision to rescind the prior committee established last year. They did elect members. The members were Drew Germanowski, Jennifer Helton, and Cheyenne Ryman. Mr. Sutton, Russ Sutton, and Ms. Kathy Mitchell-McGovern are associate members. So they'll be actively looking at open space inquiries that we've been receiving.
Kathy, I sort of remember when Mr. Hudson was here, there were like some open properties.
Yes, there are a few, and I put forward them to the members of this subcommittee, so they'll be actively looking at them.
Excellent, thank you.
I wanted to relay that the Historical Society is having an open house at the Les Franklin Schoolhouse on July 13th from 11 to 2. And I also wanted council to be aware that we did purchase a software called Otter AI. It's in the amount of $480 to $720 a year, depending on the number of users. We will have the capability to add names and technical language that will be imported into the system so that when people are speaking, it's going to translate to those words to pop up. Some items that are not like usually spoken at minutes, such as leaching, things of that nature. So we reviewed it with all the staff who would be utilizing it. They all like the software. It will require some, obviously, human intervention. It does populate a certain way where you can have summaries of your minutes and have action items, and it does take it verbatim as well. And of course, we're going to have the human element of reviewing to make sure that the wording is correct, the formatting and the way the township wants their minutes formatted, and also just to make sure that everyone speaks clearly into their microphones so that they can pick up what people are saying, and also speaking one at a time so there's no confusion as to who's saying exactly what statements at that time. That is important, I think, and that would go with any software that we would buy. But I do think that this will cut down on time in taking with the minutes. And that's all I have at the moment.
Okay, thank you. Okay, moving on to council, Victoria.
The most important thing is upcoming, we have the Saucon Rail Trail Oversight Commission meeting on June 24th. It rotates between the 3 municipalities that support the rail trail, Upper Saucon, Lower Saucon, and Hellertown Borough. The meeting is in Upper Saucon, but I wanted to advise everybody or anybody that was interested in attending that meeting that the location has been changed from the Upper Saucon Township Municipal Building to the Upper Saucon Volunteer Fire Department with the address of 4445 West Hopewell Road, Center Valley, PA 18034. So I know the township sends out the constant contacts and whatever else about that meeting to people who are interested. So I just want to make sure people know there's a conflict at the Upper Saucon building that prevents the group from meeting there. So they're going to the fire company location instead. And I welcome everybody to come. It's a really great oversight commission. If you enjoy the rail trail and you want to help, I know they're looking for people to help with cleanup at certain times and to assist in various projects that they have, and in addition to providing support.
Okay, thank you. Jason?
Thank you. 2 things. I guess I have one question, and that is, where do we stand on advertising for and hiring a new zoning hearing officer or zoning enforcement officer? I heard from multiple residents with complaints about the service that has been put in place since the departure of Jim Young, and I'm hoping that that process or that posting is moving forward. Kathy, do you have any update on that?
I took your advisement because I did have to concur with you that I do believe that the zoning officer should be hired by the new manager when that position is filled. We will be putting out the first advertisement in this week or early next week, and we'll rotate it so that time we'll have enough applications for the new manager to review as one of his first course of her first course of actions as a manager of the township.
Very good. Thanks, Kathy.
You're welcome.
And the other point that I'd like to make is I'd like to congratulate the Saucon Valley varsity baseball team on another trip to the state playoffs. Unfortunately, the outcome was not good, but nonetheless, they made the state playoffs for the 3rd year in a row, and it's very commendable to the school and the local community. I'd also like to acknowledge and recognize Coach Gary Lobb, who had been the coach for the Saucon Valley varsity baseball for a number of years. He recently retired from that position, and he spent a lot of time working with the players to develop the program to where it is now. So congratulations to him, and best of luck on his retirement from baseball. That's all I have.
Okay, thank you. Laura?
Sure, I have an update from EAC, upcoming July 13th. It's a Saturday. There is the Creek and River Festival at the Silver Creek Athletic Association in Springtown. They're having their festival from 10 to 4. EAC will be having an informational table there. Also, upcoming September 28th, we have an electronic recycling planned. So I don't know if they started advertising for that yet, maybe. So that is also a Saturday date from 9 to 12. That would be here at the township. There are various fees involved. It's all on posting of what the fees are for each of the different item types. Let's see, so I want to make a comment regarding our liaisonship to the Lower Saucon Fire Rescue. So we have been meeting with them for 6 months now. Actually, I think we might even talk with them in December, but we don't take minutes because it's a liaison, it's not a formal meeting. We do meet with whichever of their leadership is available. So I wanted to point out, I always thought there was a lack of information on this too, but we're being told that we're hiding things. We were really just getting ourselves up to speed and learning what all goes on in the fire rescue. But if you go back through old council meetings, in 2022, 12 meetings, we had no updates. 12 meetings, there were no updates given about this Lower Saucon Fire Rescue. 2 meetings, we had updates from the firemen themselves when they came to their annual presentation, or I believe they came in once to do a request for funding for something. So we had 1 report that year from the liaison, and that was regarding the merger, which was a big important topic, but we only had 1 update during the year. In 2023, there were 9 meetings where we had no updates about what was going on with Lower Saucon Fire Rescue. We had 2 meetings where we were updated by the firemen themselves. Same thing, it's their annual report. And then I think they usually have to come in for some financial requests. So we had 1 liaison update on the merger. So that's what the updates were for the last 2 years. So I think you've learned more from us in our 6 months of learning. And that's my comment on that.
Okay, thank you for that update. Eye-opening.
Laura, can I just ask you a question about that? I appreciate that you went back and looked through all of that. The other thing I thought was, that I remember is most interesting is there was a creation of this fire subcommittee, which included members of the public which hadn't previously been a part of any fire services committee, and they were tasked with coming up with a big report, which I think was unveiled by council sometime in the fall, which included this proposal that preliminarily was going to cost $15 million for additional, a new building and consolidation of our fire buildings into one on Polk Valley Road. And that committee that met and came up with a $15 million proposal did not have 1 public meeting.
Thank you for that update. Okay, I attended.
Laura, could you update me please on the fire services before we move on? So the question I have is, Victoria just brought up that this proposal about creating a new larger single substation or a main fire station up in the Polk Valley Road area. And we haven't heard any update on that. Is that something that the fire services are no longer interested in?
They haven't been talking about it much at all, so I think their priorities may have changed and they wanted to put more thought into that. So we really
That's interesting. They were heavily involved in that.
Pardon?
I find that to be very interesting because they were heavily involved in advocating for that.
Well,
Did they explain why they had to change their position on that?
I wouldn't venture to put words in anybody's mouth.
yeah, I can't really say what.
Well, you were at the meeting, that's what I'm asking.
I
I'm not asking for words in people's mouth, I want to know, did they say anything about that? Because they seem to be gung ho to have that.
I think we've outlined.
Okay, don't answer my question, we can move on.
I don't really know the specific answer. I know Southeastern, that's become a higher priority to have that ready for a new fire truck coming in. So.
Oh, you're talking about the expansion Southeastern to fit a fire truck that we ordered that doesn't fit in the garage, right? Is that what you're referring
That
to?
has become a priority, yes, because there is a timeline on that.
Did they ever provide you with any explanation as to why they asked us to pay for a fire truck that wouldn't fit in the existing station?
No.
Okay, that's too bad. All right, thank you. Thanks, Priscilla. I appreciate you allowing me to ask those questions.
You're welcome. I attended the pension committee meeting, was it? Time flies when you're having fun. That's all I can think of. So, moving on, solicitor, did you have an update on lawsuits?
I do. As a quick update on
Priscilla, can you give us an update on the pension committee in terms of the funding levels, what they're projecting, and whether or not we're at a surplus or deficit?
I don't have that information in front of me. I can send you the documents that they reviewed.
Well, I'm not asking for the documents. I've asked for other documents that you weren't so willing to share with me. I wish you were so willing to share resumes and other things. But can you give us the summary, give the public a summary as to how well the pension's doing?
I can't do that right now.
And the lower Saucon tax dollars, these are also contributions from lower Saucon employees that go into that pension fund.
Discussions were made on our investments are stable.
Kathy, you don't have to rush to her defense. I understand you may have been there, but asking Priscilla, since she wants to be the liaison with pension. So maybe she can share with us her worldly perspective on how the pension's doing.
I'll do that at my next.
I'm sure, Kathy, you know very well.
I will do that at the next council meeting under reports. I'm not prepared to do that tonight.
I can't wait, thank you.
Great. Solicitor lawsuits.
As a quick update with some of the litigation, there's in the landfill case, the township has filed preliminary objections to the complaint. They're before the court, it's pending. With regard to the Verizon case, counsel has been appointed and I anticipate a response is going to be filed to the complaint shortly. They're both in litigation and there's limited things I can say about what's going on with both of them. With regard to, as an update with regard to the Steel Club development, I just want to advise council as to what took place. You may recall some time ago, the Steel Club was authorized to move forward with their plans and get them recorded. There were a couple outstanding issues that had to be resolved, including providing a letter of credit, which was eventually provided. There were some issues with regard to the legal description that was addressed. Ultimately, it was addressed. And there was an issue with regard to a sewer agreement, which was not specifically part of the approval, but is something that eventually has to be addressed. And the developer has reached an agreement or has signed an acknowledgement as to a time frame to which to provide the documentation that's required. I will go ahead and also, I'm happy to answer any questions with regard to that now. I will also go ahead and send it to everyone so you have the letter or agreement signed by the developer so they can get their plan recorded. Ultimately, as you may recall, it was already authorized, but they had to meet these final things to get it done.
Okay, thank you.
Steve, with regard to the landfill litigation, I just want to be clear, who's representing us in that matter? Is that the Hoffman Electric firm?
With regard to the landfill litigation?
Yeah.
No, it's the Belwar firm.
Okay. I thought that's who's representing us in the cell phone tower.
Same thing.
I'm sorry, I didn't hear you.
Same firm.
Okay. And that's being, we're getting defended in those matters by a firm through our insurance company, right?
That's correct.
Okay, thank you.
All right, I have nothing else. Thank you.
Okay, engineer, have anything for us?
I have nothing to report at this time.
Okay, thank you. Now we're on to public comment, non-agenda items. 5-minute time limit. Who would like to go first? Russ?
If I could approach council, you won't be able to see this from where
I don't think, hold on. I don't think if you want to approach, we don't want to create a new style of doing that.
Oh, okay. Well, these are pictures that I have. We have a vulture problem. I'm voicing a formal complaint against Waste Management for not managing their vulture problem. The vultures roost in every forest nearby, especially Steel City. They wake me up every morning by running across my roof. There's at least 50 to 100 birds. They are disease vectors and they're with their droppings. I have taken photographs at the dump and I have counted over 500 birds at one time. And they have multiplied since the Northeast expansion. These birds, they're a danger to St. Luke's medevac helicopter. They're also a danger because this area is a landing pattern for planes taking off and landing at Lehigh Valley International Airport. These birds can fly up to 30,000 feet and they're big birds. I have pictures of the birds roosting on Steel City playground equipment and fences. Do you want your children to be exposed to disease that these birds carry? And there was over 100 birds at Steel City playground all over the equipment. On the Mennonite church roof was covered with vultures. There was 54 vultures on top of the roof. And there was also been over at least 50 on my roof. And this morning they woke me up at 3 a.m. I would like to know what Waste Management is doing to control this problem because whatever they're doing is not working. I also notified the DEP, the EPA, the Northampton Bureau of Health, Pennsylvania Game Commission, and Representative Robert Friedman. Waste Management is not a good neighbor. It is placing the adjacent neighborhood in danger and is a nuisance to the surrounding area. Please help us solve this problem. And my other one that I wanted to speak about was the cell tower. I was unable to be here last week, and I spoke to the fire captain, Scott Chrysett, last week during the hill climb, and I discussed the possibility to locate the cell tower near the fire company, which would provide coverage on Riverside Drive for these residents who lose cell phone coverage. It can be camouflaged to look like a pine tree, and the fire company can benefit from the royalties to the cell tower, just as Lightsville Fire Company does presently. The proposed location of the cell tower will not allow the signal to clear the mountain, and it will not benefit anyone south of the mountain. This new location will benefit where the signal is lost and then be beneficial to Freemansburg and Bethel Township. Why should one resident benefit from the cell tower with the subsidies? Why can't it help the whole community and especially help our fire department? So if there's room down there for it, and actually the township owns some land right adjacent to the fire company, and I don't see it benefits the whole area, not one person. And I don't see it being a hardship. And the main problem was on Riverside Drive, and that would take care of that problem. And the bird problem is a major problem. And I have a study here about the vultures that was by human wildlife conflicts by a supervisory research wildlife biologist and a state director of wildlife services from Colorado. And these birds, they damage, they tear, remove window caulking, screen enclosures, roof shingles, vinyl seat covers from boats and tractors, windshield wipers, door seals on cars, and plastic flowers at cemeteries. They interfere with communication towers, electrical transmission structures, and they can cause arcing and power outages. And I also mentioned about the aircraft problem. So, I mean, they are a disease vector, and there's really nothing I know they have a falcon up there, they used to have a cannon up there, but I don't hear the cannon, I don't see a falconer up there, and it's a major problem. And I don't like being wake up 3 o'clock in the morning by 50, 60 vultures running over my roof and in all my trees. And it's a constant problem, and it's gotten worse since the dump's gotten bigger. And that's all I have to say.
Okay, thank you. Okay, next.
Mr. Stucker, I get some clarification on that. You mentioned these vultures, and I guess the question that I have is, how did you identify them as being owned by or controlled by the landfill?
Because I have pictures.
These are wild animals that roam freely.
They don't roam freely.
That's like saying that a deer that meanders from your neighbor's property is your neighbor's problem. I just don't understand how that can be.
Let me explain to you.
Is there anything that relates them back to the landfill? Because they're wild animals. The wild animals move freely. They're not domesticated. And they're not even feral like the cats that are in Steel City that were a problem.
I'm sorry, but you don't know what you're talking about. I have a biology background.
Well,
you do not.
How do we know that where this came from?
I have taken pictures of this landfill for years and observed this. And I'm a trained observer as far as being in biology. And this is where they dump the garbage.
You are? I thought you were a nurse.
I am a nurse. I'm both. I was a biology major before I was a nurse. And all these vultures
It doesn't mean you're a trained observer of vultures. I mean, these are
I was trained in biology to
observe.
observe nature. If, would you please shut up and let me have the podium?
You can't be
Time's up.
disrespectful, Russ. So just answer his question.
Yeah, the question is, I observed them, also my neighbors have observed them, they've been in our community, they come from the landfill, they don't come from any place else. They're based at the landfill, and since the landfill cut all the trees down, there's no place for them to roost there, so they find places to roost nearby. And Steel City is one of the places, it's still forest, and they roost there, and they're there all the time, and the problem is getting worse. It's not getting better. And I'm gonna keep calling all those agencies until I get some resolution.
Well, I mean, it seems to me like if you've got a problem with wildlife, DCNR would be the party to call. Not Lower Saucon Township. We don't control the animals.
I didn't call Lower Saucon Township, I called the DEP, the EPA, the Health Bureau, and the Bureau of Agriculture. They're the people I called. If you could get me a word in edgewise, I would appreciate it, but I guess you don't know how to do that.
I think we're done talking.
All right, Diane Hollowell.
Hold on, I'm not done. So my other question here is, Mr. Sutton, are you an engineer in communication engineering? Because when Verizon came into it, I identified where they needed a cell phone tower that provided the best coverage.
Okay, so being on the record, let's be on the record. You said it was a good idea when I mentioned about the
Fire company, so the fire company can get some revenue, but that didn't seem to be an alternate location that was acceptable to provide the same level of coverage that Verizon identified for the location that they selected. And I mentioned this to another individual, I don't know if it was you, and maybe you weren't at that meeting. I certainly would like to increase the revenue that a fire company may get by having a cell phone tower located on the property, paying a rental fee, a monthly rental fee for them. But it doesn't seem to be a viable location if you have picked the best location. So do you have any studies that say that
you said at a meeting,
communication engineering standpoint? Hold on, sir. You accused me of interrupting you, so let me finish. So do you have any studies that say that at the fire company would be a viable location equal to or better than the location that they picked?
they chose a position down by the hill climb, which is on the same road, which is maybe 500 or 600 feet of difference in distance, and you agreed that this was a good idea, and you met...
One at a time.
Would you let me speak?
You can tell the transcriptionist
Let me speak.
cannot do minutes if you're talking over each other.
You said it was a good idea to have it in Steel City. It's on the record, you said that at a council meeting. You said, why didn't you bring that up? The reason I didn't bring it up, because I had an attorney representing me here and he wouldn't allow me. But I did want to bring it up, but I couldn't. So I'm bringing it up now.
Well, then that's between you and your attorney. If your attorney didn't advocate your position well, then that's your problem with your attorney. That's not my problem.
You agreed it was a good idea. You stated that on the record, so let it be on the record.
Oh, sure. I said, sir, you don't misconstrue my words. I said, I think it's a good idea if it's a viable option, but it has never been brought up during any meeting where we considered a cell phone tower. Okay? So don't put words in my mouth and don't mince my words. I said it's a good idea to be able to generate revenue for a fire company if it is a viable option.
And you said
and there was nothing else presented to me that said that was a viable option that was equal to or better than what was proposed by Verizon. And I said to you, if in fact you have information that supports that position, why didn't you bring it up before?
I told you I had was.
Bring it up because your attorney wouldn't let you.
I told you.
It's a wonderful idea. You know, this is water under the bridge. We've already dealt with this. We've now been sued.
Talk to himself.
You know, we're now suggesting that we somehow move the cell phone tower to the fire company without any authority whatsoever to do so. And without any factual basis or engineering basis for that. So if you have something that suggests that, where is it and why didn't you share it before?
Okay, we're now on another speaker, Jason. Please say your name for the record.
Diane Hollowell. I was just curious, when Jason sarcastically mocked Ms. De Leon, after 30 years, you should know that public comment is after an agenda item. Now, correct me if I am wrong, but the last board had public comment at the end of the meeting, is that correct?
We're not answering questions.
Okay, so
Yes.
it is refreshing that the new board allows citizens to talk after each agenda item, but I do have to tell you, it does make the meetings run too long. Like, just for an example, there was a May 15th meeting, and one elderly gentleman who claims to be hard of hearing, he took up 50 minutes of that meeting, so maybe think about going back to a 3-minute time limit. And I just wonder if the township residents who voted for the 2 Republicans are upset that one of them hasn't been showing up. I'm hoping that it is not a health concern. And are they on any liaison committee meetings? Because we never hear any reports from them.
So let's first of all respond to your first question. You're comparing apples and oranges. So what I was referring to is the current set of rules that were established by this new council when they took their majority and they set the rules for the meetings. And the rules for the meetings are that there will be public comment before every agenda item. Under the prior council, the rules were that there would be public comment at the beginning of the meeting on agenda items and non-public comment at the end of the meeting, just like they do with the school district. The school board conducts their meetings just that way, but yet nobody's in there yelling at the school district about, and the school board, about how they conduct their meetings. It's convenient to do so here because you just don't like anything the way it's done. That's first. Second of all, to respond to your question about whether or not Tom Carocci and I are members of any committees, we are not. We were deliberately excluded from participating in any committees. Those committees have been monopolized and hijacked by Victoria Ossoff, Priscilla De Leon, and Laura Ray. So that answers your question. If you were at the meeting, the reorganization meeting back in January, you would know that. Or if you read the minutes from that meeting, you would know that. But we apparently were not informed about that. So I'm informing you about it now.
Okay, we have another speaker.
This will only be a minute. Kathy Pitchell-McGovern. I just wanted the council and really Kathy to be aware. Last week I was
Sorry,
away.
Kathy, can you just stop for a minute? I think there's a lot of feedback coming from Mr.
We have a
Goodrich.
lot of feedback from your phone, Jason. Can you mute when you're not speaking, please? Thank you.
So I was away last week and I called in and I just wanted you to know that the system, there's a lot of glitches in the system, the AV system, so I just wanted you to be aware. I would talk and there would be such a significant delay that my voice would come through right in the middle of their conversation, which was not what what I wanted. And I was trying to talk and it really didn't work. It was significant. So finally I ended up having to text, and my husband kept texting me, telling me to put my phone on mute because there was noise coming through the thing, and my phone was on mute. So, and I could hear the static and the noise as well, and I could hear people talking as well through the system that was not the EAC or my phone. So I'm not really sure, if I'm the only one or whatever, but I couldn't talk. There was like almost like a 2-minute delay. And there was a lot of static on both sides, so it was very, very hard to hear what was being said. So I just wanted you to be aware. Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else like to speak?
Kathy, are you receiving any complaints from any other citizens that are experiencing any problems accessing any public meetings remotely and sitting and listening in on them?
I have not received any of that.
So we have a grand total of 1 complaint from Kathy Pitchell-McGovern.
Well, when I called in, the last time I called in, I had issues.
I don't.
You had issues with connectivity. You were breaking up all over the place. Hence the need for a cell phone tower.
I wasn't home, Jason.
Well, wherever you were, you should be close to a cell phone tower.
I will speak
Or maybe you're still in
to
Hershey at the time.
I will speak to Carol as to how Ms. McGovern was entered in through the EAC. There was difficulties in that, so I'll check with her on that and we'll look at different options if we have any.
Okay, thank you, Kathy. Okay, so we are on engineer public comments. Go Go ahead, I was listening to Kathy.
Can I be recognized?
Absolutely.
I'm Dave Bouland. And as far as previous speaker talking about vultures, he's got an attorney. He's here, had a chance to make all the comments in the world. Mr. Gaduzian ran a separate hearing on that with all additional people in talking about cell tower problems, etc. Never once did we hear anything about a vulture from anybody. It's amazing how these things just pop up at the right time. And if you think people are stupid, they're not. They know what's going on. Just like the tires on the road. Just unbelievable. All right. As promised, Mr. Gaduzian said he would explain in total all of the things that I wanted to ask about. Don't look so perplexed. Please look at me. Don't look at him for an answer. Darn. You talk about people having respect on Tough Gadara. I'm telling you, you guys are the worst. I look at you and I listen to you and I don't pipe up, and when somebody sits next to me and starts yakking at me, I move. And yes, that's why I moved several times. So I expect a little bit of respect, and I still don't get it. He's reading his paper even though he's going to be asked questions. He doesn't care. He's not going to answer. I think that's what the problem is. So anybody that's listening, if you think you're going to get something out of these people, well, I'll tell you, it's like getting blood out of a stone. I was interested very much in where we stand with HAL. Legally. You, Mr. Gaduzian, I'm speaking to you. You said I had to wait to the end, and here I am. I want to know about that.
You can wait to the end to make your comments. It's never been question and answer time.
All right,
You know that.
all right. And that's true of Verizon.
I'm happy to answer your questions if you want. So where we stand with Cal is the moron majority gave them a $97,000 check originally under the guise of payment of a debt that did not exist. And then they recast it when they were called out on that, and they recast it as a donation. As I asked Kathy earlier, how many people are using the township's reimbursement, and she explained the grand total of $1,300, which is substantially less than the $750,000 that they sought through a contract. The litigation with regard to the open records request is still ongoing. It's still pending in Northampton County. And the last that I knew about it was that the library was found in contempt by the president judge for failing to abide by court orders that required them to turn over information and participate in depositions. So other than that, I don't know if there's any other update. Perhaps there's other information that Mr. Gaduzian has that hasn't been shared with me. Perhaps it's been shared with other members of the public or other members of council, but I'm not privy to that.
That's why I was asking him the question. And obviously he's not going to answer me because it's still under, he is negotiating with them. What kind of negotiate? We're not going to find out. And when it happens, we won't know. I find that really abusive. I'm glad you're paying
Well, sir, I think we'll know when the settlement agreement is or some document is presented to us with regard to that. Just like everything else, we know about it after the fact. There's never any information that's shared ahead of time, so the public can truly inform themselves on what's important to the public, so that they can be informed, become the public meeting, voice their concerns, and try to provide some legitimate perspective as to what's taking place here. That's just not how they operate. That's not how they play the game. They do what they want to do. They act like they're sovereign, and they don't follow the rules.
Thank you for the update. I appreciate it. And the same thing goes with, have we responded to Verizon? Crickets.
I think Mr. Gaduzian already explained earlier that preliminary objections were filed or were going to be filed by the attorney that was retained by the insurance carrier for the township.
Oh, well, that certainly is good. Yeah, the dual use.
And actually, they're not. The case is actually in federal court So they're not called preliminary objections, it's actually a 12B6 motion. But Mr. Gattusi previously acknowledged that he's not well acquainted with practicing law in federal court. And I pointed out previously that that's deeply troubling to me, particularly if the township gets sued for a 1983 violation for infringing upon somebody's constitutional rights. And I would also point out that his firm, he and/or his firm, handled the 1983 case for the borough of West Easton that apparently did not go very well for the borough of West Easton. So maybe there's a lesson that was learned there to not involve yourself in federal court in matters that are within the federal jurisdiction. I don't know that. That's just speculation on my part.
Yes, I understood that from one of their councilmen. Rather interesting, getting hold of federal cases. Yes, I did apply for a license, not a license, but a right. I have to pay money to do it. And they're processing that so that I can go and look and see what's filed and what's not. Because I'm sure as heck not getting in and out of this star witnesses up here in the front of the panel. I really find that, especially when one runs on open, we're going to tell you, and we're going to be transparent and all, and we get nothing but crickets. That's really sad. And the data that we asked for, by the way, there is one thing that's outstanding I looked for the other day. I don't believe we've had an audit done. Is that correct?
The audit was done. They filed the required filings with the state on their website, and we should be getting their financial statements. They usually come within June or July.
Our financial statements, you mean?
Correct, the township's financial statements.
Okay, because I hadn't seen it. So that's what, is there going to be a presentation on that shortly by Bill?
Typically, we will be doing a semi-annual report. I'll be presenting that to council, and Ms. Hill will be doing a presentation on that as well.
Great, I trust you. I trust you. Okay.
Kathy, can we please get a copy of whatever was filed on the website, because I was not aware that anything was filed. And I know that if I ask Priscilla, Victoria, Laura, or Steve for a copy of it, they're not going to give it to me. So I'm hoping that you'll share a copy with me.
Oh, absolutely. We send it to council when received before I always send it to council before I post it on the website.
We never got copies yet.
I think you said it was posted.
No, it wasn't. I said they usually are. The document that I was referring to is what our auditors are required to file with the state. That's done in April. But our financial statements that are provided to us from our auditors don't come in until June or July, and I always send that to council first.
Very good, thanks.
Excellent answer. There, see how easy it is to be right straight out? I don't know. There are just so many things. So we obviously have not settled with a landfill, and you're not going to talk about it. Is that correct, Mr. Caducean?
Not question and answer time, sir.
Okay. So we're sort of really not so open and not so, aside from Kathy, open and honest about these things. Don't ever attempt to run on that platform.
Mr. Glenn, don't be offended by that. I mean, I asked some questions in an executive session and you refused to identify information that should be in member of council. So I hope you don't take it personally.
All right. Thank you all.
Anybody else have a public comment they'd like to make before we adjourn?
I had one that I missed on my reports. I guess it's Parks and Rec. So Friday, June 28th is the first Movies in the Park. They've been promoting it. It's going to be at Polk Valley Park. Approximate start time is 7:30, and the movie is Aladdin.
Thank you. Anybody else before? Is there a motion for adjournment?
I'll make a motion.
Laura, with regard to the movies in the park, is it the same resident who donated the video screen that did in previous years?
I think we purchased one.
We actually purchased a system as a backup in the event that he is unable to commit. As far as I know, he has not been able, or he has not reached out to Carol yet to see if he could make that date. But we had to pick a date.
Okay, thanks, Kathy.
Okay, there's a motion on the floor, Victoria, to adjourn. I'll second it. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, opposed? Okay, motion carries, and the meeting is adjourned at 10:21 PM. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you. Jason.
Okay, so now we need to sign stuff.
I stopped the recording, the audio.
Good night.
Yeah.